Good morning all, good evening, good afternoon to other parts of the world. Welcome to your journey with cloud computing. I'm your trainer Tarun Dave. I'll assure you at the end of the session you would not feel that you missed something. I'm sure when you go home you would be more than happy to join the session. So before I start about the session, I'll just like to know from your end about something brief about you. Can you just give something brief from which part of the world you are? What is your experience or the kind of technology you're working? This is just an, I would say like icebreaker session. So, or icebreaker moments, I would say, not the session. I just want to like to hear from you. So, Nirmal is from Chicago. Rajesh from Pune. Yeah, actually you all would be muted. I do not unmute the people. Reason there would be a huge number of participants, and if I start unmuting, it would be like a chaos. So I generally do not unmute the people. It's like a one-way channel where I keep on talking, you keep on listening. But this is the what you are writing is a second-way channel where you can just keep typing, and I'll definitely answer all your queries. So Ram is from USA, Tanish is from Chennai, Chetty is from UK. Surendra is also from US. Venkat is from Dallas. Rakesh is from Bangalore. Nandi is from India. Good, good. So quite a few from Unix experience, some Java admins, Java people, VMware, EMC. Great, great. And thanks again for participating and then keep on answering. So by the way, do not raise your hand. You can directly keep on typing over here in the questions panel. That is the best option for us. So it's fine. You don't need to raise a hand. You can keep on typing. So before we begin, I like to set certain kind of rules. But first, I would like to say, let me introduce myself. My name is Tarun Dave. I am a trainer with Edureka since more than a year. I'm having almost 13 or 14 years of IT experience with, I would say now it's almost 4 years plus on Amazon AI certifications, Amazon architecture. I'm also Amazon certified solution architect, associate level. Having done more than, I would say now it's 300 to 400 hours of Amazon and cloud computing training. You can also reach me. This is my LinkedIn ID. So this is the way you can also reach me over there. Now, one more question to everyone before I go to the next part. What is your anticipation from the session? What do you, why did you join the sessions? What are your thoughts? What do you have expectations from the session? So by the time you all start writing and posting over here, I'll just like to do some more sessions part over here. But yeah, I would request everyone do share your thoughts, expectations, because that's what we can then discuss. I may be able to fulfill quite a few, I may not be, but let's discuss on that line also before we start our session today. So the first and the foremost thing is you all need to make the session more and more interactive. See, the only channel through which we discuss is this question and answer overlay. So you can keep on posting question on any moment during any slide. You have any doubts, any questions, you can keep ask me that. Yeah, if it's relevant to that slide or what are the session, I'll try to answer that immediately. If I think that I'm going to cover in a future part of the session, I will definitely let you know about that also. And don't worry, even if we are out of time, I'll stay late and I'll ensure that I am able to answer almost all questions. Again, no question is a naive question. So every question is important for you. You would think it's a naive, I should not ask. Never think on that line, because it may happen that quite a few people might be thinking and they do not ask. So do not hesitate. Just keep on asking the questions. I am here to answer you. We will definitely have a break in between. So around 7 to 10 minutes of break, we will plan out, or you can say it's your breakfast or dinner break. You can plan out that period. Generally, it would be after 1 hour 30 minutes to 1 hour 35 minutes, something over there. We'll be planning over there. The most important part, I am ready to stay as long as you are awake. So don't worry. Again, if the session ends by 10, but I don't mind to, normally my sessions are much longer than the 10. And that's the one of the statutory warning I give to everyone at the beginning of my class, because I have a lot of topics to cover. It's huge, and I do go little deep down. So I would again say that it may be a little longer, but don't worry. At the end of the session, you would not feel that, okay, you wasted some of your hours, you would learn something new which would be helpful for you. So if possible, I know that some people in the US and they might have a little late night, but if possible, do try to stay a little late so then we can discuss more over there. In case you have to leave the session in between, you have to leave early or you could not join the session, do not worry, we would be providing you the recordings of the complete session at the end of the session, so you would be able to see that also. So we will be always having this recording. Also, whatever the PPTs I'm going to cover today, that will be also shared with you, so you can always go through that part. And also we will be providing you some of the hands-on material which will be helping you, which I'll show at whenever we progress over there. Okay, so coming back to some of the kind of anticipations, just I'll read out quickly if possible. To efficiently manage our IT needs in the cloud. So somebody wants to know that how we can use Amazon and how it can improve my Java programming. Instead of cloud computing, I'm into VMware looking to learn Amazon. I'm going to do my MS in cloud computing, so trying to learn that fundamentals, great. I would like to understand how to think as a cloud architect. Somebody is having an interest on the Amazon. I'm not a software engineer, and as I'm not making a shift to the data world, I think knowledge of cloud is very important. Very right point. Somebody is currently working as an automation tool. I'm sorry, I'm not taking the names because this is just an expectation, so I would not take the names as of now. Who had what kind of expectation? I just make it a generalized. So currently working on some automation tool, and I want to know if cloud computing as a developer. Somebody wants to know about cloud computing in general and specific to Amazon. Somebody is in a big data and wants to ensure that the cloud would be helpful there. Wants to know what is cloud. Somebody wants to understand how cloud computing works and how could system set up. Quite a few more to understand the cloud computing technology planning and deployment, and there are a few more also. So work on a project with Oracle and on demand on Kaggle. So frankly, I would say most of the expectations I would be able to meet over here. So with that, I'd like to set the agenda for the 8 weeks. This is an 8-week curriculum or 8 modules curriculum where we will be meeting every weekend on Saturday and Sunday, 7 a.m. India time. Again, tomorrow I'll start sharp 7 a.m. I would not delay it just because our GoToWebinar was not working, so it was delayed by 15-20 minutes. But we start sharp 7 a.m. exactly. So my plan would be, what topics I'm going to cover would be on day 1, that is today. We started with the introduction and course expectations. Now I'll starting with the introduction to cloud computing, because I see that most of you people may not know cloud computing. And again, if I ask you, quite a few would say, no, I have not worked with the cloud, or I have not explored the cloud, or how do I define a cloud? So that is my agenda for the day, would be that at the end of the day, you would be able to define cloud computing, you would be able to understand the cloud computing, and then you can go to the market and say that what is cloud computing. I'll also start with the Amazon. See, our session is for the Amazon only. This complete 8 weeks are for the Amazon. So from henceforth, everything would be Amazon related. So I'll start with the overview of Amazon Web Services, where what is Amazon, or what are the different keywords for the Amazon that we'll be covering today. Tomorrow, I'll start with one of the key important aspects of the cloud computing, that is the Amazon Web Services, that is the Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud and Amazon Elastic Block Storage. Also, I'll start with the few demos also. So each session from tomorrow onwards would be having some hands-on, where I would be performing hands-on, and I'll be doing in front of that. It will be completely recorded, so you can practice on your own. At the same time, we will also provide you some of the hands-on material. This hands-on material is like a how-to guide. It's a step-wise approach to do this. So you can just go at your home and you can always refer those hands-on material, which would help you to whatever the practicals we did, it will be able to help you with that also. So we will help you 2 ways. I'll be performing something in front of you, as well as we'll provide you the hands-on material, which you can do that. You will also get this PPT file and the recording of the session there also. On day 3, that is the next Saturday, we will be working on a Amazon storage part. So we will start with the Amazon S3 and Amazon Reduced Redundancy Storage. Also, we will see the Amazon monitoring service called Amazon CloudWatch. The day 4, I believe, is one of the key sessions, because That's where we define the scalability, automation part of the Amazon Web Service. So I would recommend, again, you should not miss any session, but this is one of the interesting session of the auto scaling, so you should attend that. On day 5, we would be going with some of the security aspect with the Amazon IAM, as well as the Amazon database service called Amazon RDS. Up to day 5, we would be going deep down about each and every topic. I would be covering understanding, and these are the basics. When you go to the market, you would be, I would say, 80 to 90% scenario you would be using out of these services. But Amazon has a huge portfolio of services, and which we may not be able to cover each and every. But some of the service would be helpful to understand you. So we have the day 6, where I would be giving overview of around 8 services in a single day. This would be more kind of an overview, but the USP of this session would be where it will help you understand what this service is for, how can you use it, or where can it be used and what scenarios. So when you are doing some practical implementation of AWS, you would know that there is some service available for that. Now for the architecture and design people, the day 7 is the critical and the most important. And again, I'm not saying only for the architecture. If you are in the cloud, why do you go to the cloud? You need to design something in the cloud. And that is the session day 7, where we would be setting up how do you do the cost estimation with Amazon, how do you do plan the backup and disaster recovery with Amazon, how do you achieve the high availability with Amazon, what are the Amazon best practices. We'll be doing that scenario. So that's a completely architecture session, and I would request again, do not miss that at all. Last day, where we would be doing is some kind of a more, till day 7 I would be speaking more and you would be listening more. On day 8 it would be a little reverse role. So we'll start with a quiz where I will be giving you around 20 questions and you need to answer me. Again, we do not count the marks, but it's just for your preparation for the Amazon certification. So we would take you there. So we would give you some of the questions, 20 questions, which can help you understand where you are. And after that, I'll also give you overview about the Amazon certification, how do you prepare for that. And based on the time permission, I have a few projects which you need to perform as part of your Edureka certification. I'll show you a couple of demos also based on the time, 1 or 2 demo also I'll show over there. So that is our journey up to 8 days or 8 modules to 4 weeks for Amazon Web Services. We'll normally start by sharp 7 and we do not end at 10. We normally extend a little bit more than that. So I again say little cautious on that part. So just try to be there if possible. With this, I'd like to start my session. So, but I believe I have a few questions here. So I'd like to see that. What are the questions here? Okay, so somebody says, are you changing the slides? He's still able to see this Edureka logo and AWS title only. Yes, I am moving the slides and I'm sure everybody, because I can see I have another audience view. So Deborah, you can check at your end and that part over there. Okay, so a good question from Kishore would be, will I be able to crack cloud AWS jobs after this course? Yes, I'm sure you would be. Even you, this course helps you to get the certification also. But here it's a two-way channel. I teach you something. If you do practice, if you participate, I'm sure you would be able to crack the cloud Amazon job. You need to do some hands-on over there and you would be able to match that. Another question which I see I get normally, how much programming knowledge will it be required to understand concept of cloud and Amazon? I will say you need zero knowledge as of now. If you have some IT knowledge, that would definitely help you, because Amazon has a catering for all the world. If you are from the IS background, there is something for you. If you are from a development world, there is something for you. So Amazon is having for everyone. Plus it's a complete separate topics, and the way we are going, I do not think if you have some past knowledge, then only you can learn. Yes, your past knowledge may help you to do something with the Amazon, but it's not a mandatory at all. You can start afresh, so you can clear out your mind and come over there as a fresh only. Some more questions on the jobs part. So I would say I would not like to answer on that as of now, because we are already running a little late. I would take at the end of the session about your job and all those aspects. So we will definitely discuss about that because we have quite a few things to cover today also. Again, question for the certification, I would like to say that we will take up that on the day 8, because where I explain about each and every stream of the certification. So I would request to hold on till that part, and then we will be able to do that. Yeah, one question from Suresh. It's a good. That's a will this session. How long this session would be available to me in the? We have a learning management system, and you would have a lifelong access to that. So you can always access the login over there and download the videos whenever you want to. Right. So all certification questions I would definitely answer, but on day 8 because we have a complete whole session dedicated for that. So I would like to hold your time till that. For all the jobs related, if you have some doubts, I would again request to be at the day 8, but if you have something other doubts, we can definitely discuss at the end of the session today. So with this, I like to start my day. Today, we are going to cover two aspects, cloud computing and the Amazon. In the cloud computing, we'll start with the what is cloud computing definitions, the cloud cloud models, the key differentiators, and the cloud examples. Also, then we'll go with the what is Amazon Web Services, a overview about the Amazon portfolio, and a few basic keywords for the Amazon. Now, I would like to hear from you. Are you ready to fly to the cloud? Are you all set? Have you tightened your seat belts? Ready to fly to the cloud? Great, great. And I would like that please keep your motivation till the end of the day 8 like this only, because I see the people are very excited at the beginning, but they don't ask the questions and then they feel bored. So you keep on asking the question and I'm sure you will not get disappointed. Yeah, if you are not in part of the Ukraine or Israel, you would not get hit by the missile. So this is the area you should be covering yourself. If you are in a other part of the world, I'm sure you would not hit by the missile. Okay, so let's start. Okay, my question first. How many of you have used cloud computing? Okay, so Mayank has used, Rajesh has used, and Danish has a very right answer. Danish, I come to your answer. This is perfect thing. I'll come to that. So Kishore is also kind of a right answer. I'll come to that. So Ram has used, Nirmal has used Amazon, Venkat has used Rackspace, and Kishore is also right, like Danish, and I'll come to your point also. Amit is also right, and exactly Amit, I'll come to your point also. Okay, so quite a few have not used, I would say, and I'll say you all are lying. Everyone has used cloud in one or another way. Everyone, and we'll see how. But before that, let me build some hype. So normally, unless you see the hype, you don't value that. So I'll start that way. And I always start with this, my favorite. I have a couple of icons and whom I like to follow. One of them is Steve Jobs in the IT world. And he was a visionary. And this is the statement from him in around 1997. He says, I don't need a hard disk in my computer if I can get to the servers faster. Carrying around this non-connected computer is Byzantine by comparison. And see, what he said in 1997 has started coming true and now becoming more and more like a buzzword across the industry in 2014, and that would be the go-to thing for everyone by 2016-17. So that's the cloud computing. Now, I'm more interested for the Scott McClellan. What Scott McClellan says, we believe we are moving out of the ice age, the iron age, the industrial age, the information age to the participation age. So if you see, you are participating on the internet, not just viewing stuff. We build the infrastructure that goes to the data center that facilitates the participation age. You IAM, you blog. So just say around 60 to 70s of period of the IT was more like an ice age. And we know that those mainframes and all the like the big servers where just server of the IBM required a plane to travel from one place to over there. That was that huge server. And then it started iron age, I would say between 70s to 80s over there. 80s to 90s, or rather I would say 90 to 2000 would be more like an industrial age when the Windows 98 and they started getting more and more phenomena. I would say from 2000 to 2006 would be more like an information age, because that was more like you started the .NET and everything, not as a .NET technology, but .com rather. The .com and everything has started, so people started moving to the internet and everything started. But from 2006 onwards, I would say morely, like, again, I don't say the exact 2006, but it's more about the participation age. We have a Facebook, or I can't name now, it's going to be closed in September. So we have a now Twitter, we have a Pinterest, we have so many LinkedIn, we have now WhatsApp, and so many communicated messages. Even while I'm speaking with you, I'm sure you might be doing, some of you might be doing something on a FP, or somebody tweeting on a session over there. I'm participating on a cloud session. This is a session. It's a boring session. It's a nice session. Something you would be doing over there, I'm sure. And everybody and whoever, see, is from the years of the who graduated, I would say. I won't say I'm from Ice Age, but who graduated along with me from somewhere between 95 to 2000. Or before that, I won't say it, I'm so experienced, but yeah, between 95 to 2000, whoever has graduated between me, they would know that when we used to, if I have to connect with my college friends, what was the communication technology we were using? We had the only option was email. We used to write them in 2000, early 2000, to saying that how are you doing and something if they are in US or the parts of the world. And it was not so easy to connect with them, that when they go to their machine, they start the net, and then they would be able to connect over that. Now, with the world of WhatsApp, you all know how fast it is. It's so easy to connect, and I gave you a few examples I said. I wished my friend, one of my friend, school friend rather, in April, and you say fortunately or unfortunately, I emailed him, and he replied me saying that he was surprised that, are you still using email to wish me? That he was thinking I might wish him on a Facebook, or I might wish him on a WhatsApp and something like that. He said, why are you still using email to wish? So that's like a Byzantine by comparison, I would say, or the old-fashioned thing. And that's the reality. It's becoming now, the people are moving over there. Or one of the best example would be, I would say in around late 2013, there was some earthquake in eastern coast of US. I believe in New York or New Jersey it was there. Again, I'm not sure. Before that, the tremors could fill to the Baltimore. Again, pardon me for the geography. I'm not an US geography expert, so you can take the name as per your requirement. But by the time the tremors could fill at the Baltimore, a tweet has reached there faster. Somebody has already tweeted that we felt the earthquake. And somebody who could feel the aftershock of that, they were knowing that there is going to be some earthquake over there. And that is the power of the participation age. People are participating over the net, and we have the devices available now. We could do this participation. We can talk, we can communicate in multiple ways, and that's why that's becoming so easy. Now, remember, before the iPhone world, can you imagine that you could talk to anyone in a minute now? We had to go to the email and something. Now the iPhone, I would say there were the different devices available. Palm was then something, but iPhone was the revolutionary for in any case. And now we have the Android and everything, so we don't go in that level, or the tablets. But they have given a power in our hands which help us to stay connected. And now the things are moving into some other different technology arena, that it would be completely like a wearable technologies. So now the participation age is very important. And what helps this participation? You need that kind of infrastructure so you can participate. If Facebook is there, you say, okay, Facebook is there, but how does the Facebook run? What kind of infrastructure does it have which can support the billions of users to participate over there? That's where the cloud computing would come in a picture. Okay, so Suresh says, is still on the first slide, have we moved on? Yes, Suresh, we have moved on. I think everybody is able to see the slide. This where I have a chart. So the Forrester and the Gartner chart, I can see. I hope everybody is able to see that, right? So Kishore and Suresh seems to be having issue, but I believe everyone is fine. So Kishore and Suresh, I would recommend you can just try to log out and log in again. I'm not sure because everybody else over there able to see that. So yeah, moving on. See again, cloud service market growth. So in around 2009-10, what Forrester said, they said that by 2020 cloud computing market would be 240 billions. So in 2009, it was around 40 billion market. And they anticipated that by 2020, it would be around 240 billions. But that's being challenged by everyone now. So how? If you see the current Gartner's graph, it says that by 2010 which was 77 billions, now almost it is in 2014 it's almost 150 billion plus, and by 2016 it would be 210 billions, and or who knows, by 2016 it might be 240 billions. So cloud is growing phenomenally, and you have to move to the cloud. So if you want to stay alive with the technologies, you want to stay there, the cloud is a go-to thing for you. You need the cloud in one or another way. A good question from Amit would be, why is annual growth rate going down? See, the problem would be annual growth is not going down over there, but it's growing very well. Again, it's a, you say 17% to 15%, but cloud adoption is growing more. That is the reason. So by that time, I would say what 2010 people were not knowing cloud at all. Now by 2014, the most of the people know cloud and they have already moved over there. Since then, you will see the people have started moving to the cloud more and more, but the annual rate would be that then it would be stagnant, right? So because it's becoming more and more mature. Everything which would have the hype curve and then there are maturity curve. So initially it would be a hype curve, the 20%, 18%, but then it would be going in a maturity curve where it would be growing equivalent to the over that maturity period. So that's the scenario here. If I show you more, that's the scenario even I'm talking about this in the next slide. The Gartner hype cycle slide. If you see the infrastructure as a service model, which was growing before long, and it was on a hype cycle around a while back, I would say around a couple of years back. Now it's in a plateau of the maturity, so a productivity where it's becoming more and more mature. So things go on a hype where it would be having the huge growth, but then it would be becoming more and more mature, then it will be progressing on a gradual line. It's not able to do more because it's a maturity now, everybody is over there. So it would be a gradual more move over there. But one thing I would like to highlight here is the infrastructure as a service model. That's what the more mature model now, and we would be focusing more on that because Amazon is one of the largest, not I would say one of the, is the largest service provider for the public infrastructure as a service model. One curious thing which I would like to highlight here is the DevOps. So how many of you know about the DevOps? For all the question on SaaS, PaaS, I'll come to that. I have a dedicated site for that, so definitely I'll be answering on that. Do you know what is DevOps? Yeah, Amit is right. So DevOps means, you might have noticed this so many times when you are working in an Agile May or any other kind of scenario. You develop an application, you tested an application at your environment, but when you give it to the production team for the testing or the deployment, they will come out and say, I don't have the environment available. You should have informed me earlier. Why are you coming now? I don't have environment available. Or when they give you environment, it may happen that your application may not run there. So testing team says there is a bug, but you say, no, it's working fine in my environment, and you might have noted that. The reason is it's a different environment or the non-availability of the environments. That is the reason. And DevOps is a bridge between these two. DevOps is a bridge between development and an operation team. It's kind of a, you can say it's a life cycle method, it's an automation script. There are huge number of theories available over there. But the main goal is it tries to bridge between development and operation team, where it would be providing kind of a automation in a way where it can, you can do automated deployment, automated testing over there scenario. If we have heard the words called chef and puppet, chef not the one who cooks for us, but the one who, there is a tool available called chef, CHEF, there's a tool called puppet, which are helpful for the DevOps. DevOps, again, if you are thinking about a job change and something you are from the IT market or IS markets, DevOps would be one of the go-to thing for you, because gradually it would be going to the peak of the inflated expectations and there would be huge demand for that. So again, we are not focusing on DevOps now, but you should focus that. That's the one of the things. So if you are looking for that, that's also one of the interesting thing you can learn on that. Yes, it's a chef, CHEF, chef I'm talking about. That's the thing scenario. So that's one scenario we will, and Amazon has some offering for that. We will talk briefly about that when we go to the day 6. So with this all hype and about the cloud, so we know everybody needs to move to the cloud, and our dear friend Santa can't be left behind. He says, I'm running a business, so I have to move with the times. I have to use it. I have no option available. Then what is cloud computing? Can I say everything is cloud computing? And for that, I like to cite the words from our famous friend, Mr. Larry Ellison. I'm sure everybody knows about him. But the reason was that when Larry Ellison was doing that, he had the problem. Say, Oracle was the one of the very slow adapter of the cloud computing. And Larry Ellison mentioned that rather he did not want to, or Oracle initially did not move to the cloud computing. The reason was, this is one of the statement you would like to do. The interesting thing about cloud computing is that we have redefined cloud computing to include everything that we already do. I can't think of anything that is not cloud computing with all these announcements. The compute industry is the only industry that is more fashion driven than women's fashion. And if you ask me, I would agree with him in a one way. Because what happened that people without understanding what is cloud computing, they started jumping and saying, I am cloud, I am on cloud, I am using cloud. Or people just want to explore. I have come across so many, my team members, they say, I want to move to the cloud. We want to move our application to cloud. And when I ask them why, they say, it's a buzzword. It's an IT requirement. So I said, did you ask your client? Is your client wants to move them? And sometimes client wants to move them. And I say, why? And they don't know why. They say, it's a buzzword. We need to move them. So you need to understand what is cloud, and then only you should move to the cloud. So that's why it's very important for everyone to understand the cloud computing. And we'll start moving the movement in that direction. And frankly, what Larry Ellison says that goes with this picture. So it's like a one elephant and a 4 or 5 blind men. So if you ask someone who has explored the Amazon, they'll say cloud is something hosting. If you ask someone, they say cloud is something like email. If you ask someone, they say cloud is something like that. So people touching cloud in a different way, they will have their own perception. But what is real cloud computing, or how do you define a cloud computing? So let's define that now. As per the Forrester, cloud computing is a form of standardized IT-based capability such as internet-based service, software, or IT infrastructure offered by a service provider that is accessible via internet protocols from any computer and is always available, scales automatically to adjust to demand, is either pay-per-use or advertising-based, has a web or programmatic-based control interface, and enables full customer self-service. Now, are you all clear with the cloud computing definition? Everybody clear? Okay, so whoever is clear, they are going to take the session from now onwards. I am just going to unmute them, and you would be leading the session now, because frankly, even I am not clear. So with this definition, so are you all? So let me make the life little different for you. Ideally, if you ask someone, what is cloud computing? It's a definition you have to go by the NIST, that is a National Institute of Standard and Technology. And for them, as per them, the cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources like your network, storage, or services, and that can be rapidly provisioned and released with the minimal management effort or service provider interaction. This cloud model promotes availability and is composite of 5 essential characteristics, 3 service models, and 4 deployment models. Now are you all clear? No one is answering now. Frankly, this is more complicated than the previous one. Yeah, Venkat has something. It says cloud is moving and sun is visible. So yeah, did I complicate the things or did I make the things? I completely agree that this definition is too involved. This is more like, if you remember, if you have seen the movie Three Idiots, it's a bookish definition. And that's why we don't want to go for the bookish definition. So let me make the life simpler. Hold on, somehow my pen is not coming up, so I'm just trying to see that if I can get that by in any way. Yeah. So I'm sure this is a much bookish knowledge, and exactly. So everybody would have a question. You mentioned about the three models and what is all this about? And that's why, say frankly, it's just not an easy definition. If I want to make life a little easier, I'll go with the previous one slide. Let me go to the previous slide. If I make the life a little easier for you, any business service, hear my words very clearly, any business service. Now what do I mean by business service? If you are making an application for a client, it can be what kind of application you are making. It can be an email service, it can be an hosting service, it can be a computing service, it can be a calculation service, it can be financial service. You are offering something to a client, right? So any business service which is accessible over internet based service, or which is accessible over the internet protocols, that I would say, which is always available, scales automatically, follows the pay-as-you-go model, would be, and has a web or programming model, would be, rather I would not go with this for now, as of now. So any business service which is available, so I would write down the words, which is available or which is accessible over internet protocols. So sorry, my bad by my client mouse. So oops, I lost my pen again. Yep, I'm back. So any business service which is accessible over the internet or internet protocols, which is available on demand, which is a scalable, it uses the pay-as-you-go model. So it will be charging you on a pay-as-you-go model. So whatever service you are using, it will be charging as per that only. And unfortunately, this keeps on pausing over there. So we have some issue with the go to since morning. So, and which uses the resources optimally. I'll repeat again for everyone. Any business service which is available over, now business service, you can say anything. As I said, it can be CRM, it can be your email service, it can be a hosting service, it can be a document management system service, it can be a document preparation service, it can be anything. Any business service which is accessible over the internet or internet protocols, because sometimes it may be on intranet, so over internet protocols, which is always available, means whenever you need it should be available. Which is scalable, means whenever you need to scale up, it should be able to scale up. Charges you on a pay-as-you-go model, so whatever you are using, it would be based on that only you are charging. And has resource, using the resources optimally, is called the cloud computing. Does it make little sense to you? Does it make little clear? Any business service, which will be following available over the internet protocols is available, charges you on a pay-as-you-go model. So whatever you are using, it's a scalable and uses the resources optimally. Now the business service is a word I am using because it can be anything. And now if I go back to the previous slide, why I use the Forrester as a reference, because Forrester has a kind of a matching scenario. Again, this definition what I am giving is my own definition, so you cannot use that, right? So it's a Tarun's definition, but yeah, I am giving this definition just to make your life easier. So if you want to categorize something for cloud computing, you can go for that line. So the Forrester says similar way, where it says a form of standardized IT-based capability such as intent-based services, software, IT infrastructure. Everything I combined in a single word saying any business service. Then, so the completely I am combined these to a any business service model. Then when you go for the next part, accessible over internet protocols, that's the first thing. It's available, scalable, pay-as-you-go model, and has web or programmatic based control interface. One thing which they have not mentioned, which I would like to go, is a optimal resource utilization. That is one of the key aspects. If I go to the next definition, in this scenario, when you read, it says, as per this is computing enabled convenient on-demand networks or something like that. It follows the 3 service models and the 5 characteristics. So what are these 5 characteristics or 3 models? Let's see that. And we will define now again in a little better way for you. These are the 5 key characteristics identified by the NIST, and ideally we should go with the definition of the NIST only. If you want to read about that definition, there is a link given at the bottom of the page which may not be visible to you, but when you get this PPT you would be able to see that. Coming back to cloud computing should have 5 attributes, and I already spoke about those attributes, so I'll again explain in detail each and every aspect. First one is broad network access, something which is accessible over internet protocols. It can be either internet or over the intranet. If it's for your completely organization, it can be over the intranet. If it's for the whole world, it can be internet. So if I'm accessing Amazon today from my home, you can also access from your home, or somebody can access from the Israel, or somebody can access from the Ukraine also, right? You can access, or Germany, right? Wherever you are, you can access from that. It's a broad network access. Yeah, you need an internet connection, but the service is available, you should be able to connect from that. Another important aspect is it's a rapid elasticity. So when you want to, before I like to give you one example of one of my favorite examples, which I keep on covering over the period. One of the important example, like on February 24th, I believe, I hope I'm correct on the date, 2010 or 11, sorry, I think 10, yeah. Sachin Tendulkar, I know most of you might be fan of his. I am one of the biggest fan, along with Steve Jobs. So he hit the first ODI 100. In a one-day international, he made the first ODI 100. Now we are not here to talk about that. But why this is an important case? Normally, if you are following cricket, you follow the cricket score on a website called espncricinfo.com. That's the one of the site where people follow the cricket score. If you are following cricket in one or another way, that's the one of the best site where people follow the score. And normally, do you anticipate what is the load on their website? Generally, they have a 3 million hits every day on their website. On that fatal day, I call it word use fatal very carefully, but yes, on that fatal day, when Sachin hit the ODI 100, he broke lots of cricket records. But he broke one more thing. He broke Cricinfo website. Because that day, Cricinfo website encountered traffic of 45 million users. Yes, I'm going the right words. It was 45 million users on the single day or in a few hours. And Cricinfo was not able to sustain that load, and they failed. And the site was down. Even I was one of that watching the scores live that moment. I remember it was not refreshing the score at all, and I had to go to some other place where I could watch the TV. So I know, and the Cricinfo has publicly acknowledged that, and we'll see that more in detail sometime when I cover other sessions. But yes, coming to that, why this is an important point. The Cricinfo had some scalable web application, so they could have a scale up some little. But yeah, what about 45 million users? How would they be able to? Either they might have a provision the 45 million user immediately from the day 0, considering that there would be some World Cup, there would be some records, and there might be a people who might be visiting our website and which would be flooding our website, so we should be able to cater to 50 million users in any day. Or they might have gone to the cloud which would help them to provision something on demand. So if they were using for 3 millions, they went to the 5 millions, it would be able to scale up. If they need for 7 millions, they would be able to do that. So something which is available to you on demand and scalable. So it should be scalable or elastic. So they could have utilized that resource optimally and it would be available to them. So Cricinfo could have survived better or could have worked better. Again, I'm not sure what they are using for their hosting, so I cannot comment on that. But yes, they could have done better with this rapid elasticity because it could have scaled up better way. Whenever required, they could have scaled more. And why could have they scaled more? Because cloud provides you on-demand self-service. Generally, when you go to the, or if you are procuring a server, generally, how much time does it take? It takes starting from 6 hours to 6 weeks, because you might be searching over internet, you might be searching to the different stores, you might be, if you're in US, you are going to the Second City, Best Buy, Costco, or some other providers online. If in India, you would be going to the Vijay Sales or the Chroma somewhere outlets or online and try to find the best quotations. You get the quotations and then you place an order and you get a server. How much time it takes? Starting from 6 hours to 6 weeks based on your procurement cycle. If you are in a cloud, you can get a machine starting from 600 MB RAM up to 244 GB RAM. Yes, I'm talking 244 GB RAM machine within 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes, it would be available to you. That's why it's an on-demand self-service and it would be able to scale up. Now, what is the use of this? If you just demand, it will be available to you. How do they charge back? The best part is they should have a facility available that whatever the resources you are using, it should be able to charge up based on that. So if you have required that I need 5 machines now and I need those 5 machines only for a single day, it would charge me for only single day. So it should have some measurement service and then charge you on a pay-as-you-go model. Now this pay-as-you-go model would have a different formulas which I'll come in a later slides, but whatever the amount you're using, based on that they would be charging you. Also, it should be doing the effective resource pooling, resource utilization. So that's the resource pooling. Now, do you know, does anyone have heard the word called the multi-tenancy? If you have, can you just define that a little bit? So Amit is kind of a right. Share the bare metal on server or something hosting multiple people on service on server. Not exactly something I would say. I'll give again example and then give you. Suppose 3 leading private sector banks of India, ICICI, HDFC and Axis, they decided that we want to make purchase banking financial software. They went to Infi. Infi is one of the very good tool called Finacle. So they went to Infi and say, we want to implement the Finacle. Now when we want to implement the Finacle, we have 2 conditions. First, it would be available to my in-house, so back office operations available. Second, it would be available over internet to my users also. Now, each bank would have a different requirement. So Axis says, whenever somebody comes to my site, first thing would be a security requirement. So they should always see the first page saying that your credentials are important, do not share with anyone, use that securely. They will see my logo and something like that. When ICICI went to over there and they asked it, they say, no, I want to show them the advertising part first. So when they come to my site, they will see that my promotions, my cards offers, my banking loan offers, everything over there along with my logo. When HDFC went to the, say whenever somebody comes to my hdfc.com, they should be able to see the login page first, not anything else. So that's just a requirement from 3. Now, Infi is going to offer Finacle to everyone, and they would be offering them over in some hosted environment. So it may happen that Infi is hosting behalf of everybody. Again, this is all a hypothetical scenario, so don't go in a live, but just we are explaining for a cases. So Infi would be hosting in his own data center for all 3 clients. Now Infi would be hosting the same server Only thing Infy would be doing would be they might be customizing the software. So when somebody comes to accessbank.com, it would be showing them the page of the security warning of the Axis Bank. Somebody comes to ICICI.com, they would be showing all the ICICI products over there. Or somebody coming to HDFCbank.com, they would be showing the login page with the logo of the HDFCbank.com. Now, in all the cases, the backend software is same. Only thing is there is some customization as per the client requirement. In this scenario, HDFC, ICICI, and Axis are the tenant of Finacle. Finacle is hosting this application for Axis, HDFC, and ICICI. So these three companies are the tenants of the Finacle for which the application is hosted and customized, and all the end user of Axis or all the end user of the HDFC or all the end of the ICICI are at the end the customers. So tenant, if I say, is nothing but the group of the users for which the application may be customized or the configured or hosted for that. Right? Am I making sense now? The multi-tenant system. So in this scenario, cloud should be offer you something as a multi-tenant with the effective resource pooling. Resource pooling means the resources are shared across the tenants. Again, there are different maturity level of the multi-tenancy. It may be exclusively shared or inclusively shared over there. It would be there, but something where the resources are optimally utilized for the end users or the tenants, that is for the resource pooling aspect over there. Now, coming back to our definition again, these are the 5 key attributes defined by the NIST for the cloud computing. And again, I'll say I'm spending a huge amount of time on this slide. The only reason is this is the one of the key slide for everyone, because this is where we lay the foundation for the cloud computing. So you can keep on asking. I have seen a few questions also. I'll answer almost all questions in a while. Don't worry. I come back to the slide. 5 key attributes. Now if I go back to my definition, now you understand it much better way. Any business service. So this business service can be over email, hosting, CRM, could be your calculation, financial, anything, which is available, broad network access, which is available over the internet protocols. Now it can be your mobile devices, tablet devices, desktop, server, anything which is available over internet or intranet, which will have the rapid elasticity. So it should have a scalability or elasticity. Now there is a difference between elasticity and scalability, and I'll explain in detail on day 3. We'll go with the concept elasticity, so which will be having the elasticity, which will have the measured service and pay as you go, which will be available on demand. So whenever you need, it should be available, and uses the resource pooling effectively, is a cloud service. So now you understand I use those keywords because these are the 5 attributes defined by the NIST. So I'm using those 5 attributes in my definition. So I'm just trying to simplify. Any business service which follows these 5 attributes of NIST is a cloud service. Now everybody clear with the definition of the cloud computing? I need a reply from everyone. So if you go to the market and somebody asks you that what is cloud computing, you can always go and say any business service which follows the 5 attributes of the NIST is a cloud service. Now for anyone who is answering almost, I would like to say, if you're not clear, you can ask me. Okay, so I have a few questions here. I'll just like to take that. What is 3 service models and 4 deployment models? I'll come in a while. Would allow access from mobile device? I guess I answered yes. For broad network, yes, it will be. Are these services that they provide, are they virtual or physical? Generally, it would be virtually only, because they need to provide this kind of scenario. It would be feasible with the virtual scenario only. Something more, hold on. Can you please explain again the resource pooling? Yeah, sure, I will. Uh, Also, does the corporates accept idea of resource pooling and multi-tenancy, or do they like isolated cloud? Very good questions. The second question I'll answer in a while. Now, coming to resource pooling, what would happen? See, you would have if you remember, I give the complete example of the Axis, HDFC, and ICICI. So, Finacle has hosted an application for Axis, HDFC, and ICICI. In that scenario, HDFC, Axis, and ICICI are the tenant of the Finacle. Now, tenant means it's nothing but a group of users. Tenant is a group of users for which application is customized or hosted. Now, whenever this application is being hosted, this hosting provider or the cloud provider, because Finacle here in this scenario is a cloud service provider. It offers the banking service followed by the first 5 attributes. So Finacle here is a cloud service provider, and it would be doing this resource pooling. Resource pooling means if I have, for example, I have a 20 GB RAM machine. Now if I provide this 20 GB RAM machine to a single user, it may be killing because that user is using only 4 GB, or one tenant, it might be using only 4 GB. Out of that, my 16 GB is being wasted. But if I do some kind of a virtualization where 5 users or 4 users are using equivalently, where each user is getting 5 GB RAM, it means each user is having more capacity, plus they are doing the effective resource utilization. So the 5 attributes defined by the NIST include the resource pooling. And how do you achieve the resource pooling? Using the multi-tenancy concept. Am I clear now? So frankly, I would like everyone to be clear here. So this way we can go more. So because if I say the one line of output or the outcome from this session would be, you should be able to define what is cloud computing. And that's my focus of the day. So even if I take more time, I'm okay. Some of the slides are read only, so even I can skip. I know the time is a limit, but I can just read out because it's more about that. Good question. Does cloud follow the virtualization concept or also to provide this service? Yes, virtualization is one of the key aspects for the cloud computing. But remember, virtualization does not mean the cloud computing. There is a myth that virtualization, if I virtualize my environment, it's a cloud. No. You can virtualize the environment, but if you don't follow the 5 attributes, it's not a cloud. So if anybody comes and say, is my application, somebody says, I'm providing a cloud service, you can always go and ask, does it follow the 5 attributes of the NIST? And now, for everyone who answered in the beginning of the session that they have not used the cloud, I like to say you all were lying, because have you used Gmail? Has anyone used the Gmail? Has anyone used the Dropbox? Has anyone used the WebEx? Have anyone used the GoToWebinar? You all are right now. Right? And all these are the cases of the cloud computing. Now I'll explain the case of the Gmail, how it's a cloud. So Gmail, what we see here is, we go to the Gmail and we sign up for the Gmail. That's a normal available for the public. But apart from that, Gmail is also having a solution, email solution for the small, medium, large organization also, where you can go to say that even Edureka is using Gmail. So Edureka can go to the Google and say, I don't want to set up my own infrastructure. Why don't you give my setup, let me use your infrastructure and provide me. So Gmail will provide them the self-provision, the infrastructure, where you can just go and register, you can keep on registering your user. So Edureka would have a Gmail account, they can go there. So Gmail is accessible over the broad network. So that's the one characteristic. Edureka would go there and they will get a console where they can keep on adding more and more users. So currently the Edureka is having 10 users, they want to add 11 users, they want to use the 12 users, they want to use the 13 users. They would have a on-demand self-service console from where they can keep on adding the users. Now if these 15 users are storing 5 GB, the 30 users are storing total 10 GB, 100 users are storing 1 terabytes, everything is able to with the Gmail because it provides the rapid elasticity. It can keep on growing more and more. It will never break down. Gmail would be charging back the Edureka based on the number of users license or based on the number of storage service. Based on that, it would be different models. It would be generally it charges based on the user model or some of the fixed rate, something on the way the storage part it would be charging. So it's a measured service and then it costs you pay as you go model. monthly basis. Key aspect would be Edureka says I need an email address as a tarun@edureka.in or gaurav@edureka.in or mohit@edureka.in, something like that only. I don't want that email address like a tarun@gmail.com, mohit@gmail.com. No, I don't want that. Google says I am fine. We will have a console for that. So what would happen? They will configure your domain name. Now there is some validation mechanism for sure. With that, they would be configuring your email. So your edureka.in would be also on some data center of the Google. If you go to some IITs, they would also have the email service from the Gmail. If you go to some other universities, they would also have the email service from the Gmail. So everything would be from the Gmail in that scenario. So whatever you are doing at the rate edureka.in or at the rate iitmumbai.in or at the rate IIM Ahmedabad.in, something like that, they would be at the backend infrastructure would be from Google. It would be hosted on Google data center. Google would be doing the effective resource utilization using the multi-tenancy. So this makes the clear case of the Gmail why it's a cloud computing. Yes, so where Gmail fails, definitely I'll come to that point. But now everybody clear about the cloud computing and where Gmail with this example? One question from Srihari Harsha would be that are we going to discuss on how cloud enables in elasticity? I'll discuss that for the Amazon for sure. We have a complete session for that. Also, Shiva Kumar has a question between rapid elasticity and on-demand self-service looks similar to me. No, there is a clear-cut difference. When you go and say, I need 5 resources, it should be available to you. But it would be possible. So sometimes you would say, expand this my resources or effective utilize. So from 5 GB RAM, you want to go for a 20 GB RAM. It would be possible. So that's the case of the elasticity. So, or from 2 resources, you want to go to 4 resources. It's a case of the elasticity. But that is possible only because it's a on-demand. So on-demand facilitates the elasticity. Okay, so are we clear now? Any doubts, any questions pending? See, I told you in the beginning, you all need to say, make it more and more collaborative. So if you're not sure, even if you say no, that helps me that clear mind the concept. Okay, you all are clear on the concept. So that would be helpful for you. Yeah, Sanjeev has a one question. Should any organization go with cloud for their business service which fulfill these 5 attributes? Are you going to cover how to identify which business service should we put on the cloud? Frankly, that's completely your organization decision what to move to the cloud. I would help you that what are the models for the cloud, what are the key attributes. I will help you to understand the cloud. I'll help you to understand the cloud advantages, disadvantages, and then I'll take you to the Amazon journey. Now what you want to move it, that's completely your organization perspective because each organization would have their own requirement. Maybe it's a scalable, maybe it's a security, maybe it's a on-demand. Based on that, there would be different cases and we cannot, there would be a different checklist for them and it will be qualify or not qualify. So that may be completely your organization specific requirement. Debrun says, is on-demand self-service from an admin standpoint? Yes, it would be more like an admin standpoint, definitely agreed. But if you see on the end user way, why it would be the end user way also? Because end user should not feel the performance degradation. That's why it's on-demand and elastic. Suppose instead of 3 millions, they have created for 45 millions. If they were using the cloud, it should have scaled up and then it should be working in a way where it should be able to provide the resources. So on-demand would definitely help the admin perspective, but the end user would be benefited, the performance would not be affected. So one question, would you term the general infra or infrastructure as a cloud? No, I would not. That would be a different, and I'll see there is a little difference between both. I'll come to that point also. Okay, so now I guess we have, So again, generic internet, I may not always term. It may be kind of a cloud, but not exact on a cloud, because is it a on demand? Is it a self-service? Because if you go to the internet provider, you need to sign up for them once, yes. But then you need, instead of 4 GB, you need 6 GB. Are they able to scale up? Do they? Yeah, they provide the measured service, definitely. But do they provide the resource pooling effectively? Sometimes they may be. If they are providing the elasticity over there, then in that scenario, you can say it can be a cloud service. I don't define that. So network as a service is coming up very popularly, but that's more about the software defined networking. So complete internet may not be exactly over there. I would say is a internet, I would say, is a kind of a infrastructure rather than a service. Internet would help you to make some service a cloud. Yeah, coming back to, so what is the difference between elasticity and scalability? I'll have a special slide for that on day 3, so hold on, I'll explain that. So now let's move on. So cloud has a 3 service models also: software as a service model, platform as a service model, and infrastructure as a service model. Now what is that? Something which is you get a ready-made software to use, where something like what you got at Gmail, it's a ready software to use. You do not need to customize anything. You can start using. It's a ready software offered to you by Google. Yeah, you can configure as per the requirement. You can say, okay, it should have a @edureka.in, or it should have a something like that. But you cannot go and say you should use this kind of a service provider. It should be this kind of a, your GUI should look like this, or something. They can do customization, but not everything. So a ready software available to you, which you can start consuming without worrying about anything, where it is hosted, who is the shared model, who is the other tenants. You just start consuming the service. That's more like a software as a service model. So Google, Gmail, the Office Docs, or the Office 365, Google Docs, everything falls in that scenario. Google Drive, those are the scenario. Amazon has started recently Zocomo. It would also follow in similar fashion. Then platform as a service model, where they offer you platform to create your cloud or to use the cloud. For example, how many of you have used the cloud or Google App Engine, Heroku? Has anyone? Google App Engine, Heroku? They are the popular cases of the platform as a service model, where they provide a platform to make your applications. In that scenario, if I go to the Google App Engine would have a self-given console where I will be developing my application. So I create an application in Java platform. So I have created an application, JWE application. Now I created a bundle application. So I created a WAR file or something, exe file if it's a .NET or something like that, or whatever the bundle for the .NET, that would be different. Now I take that application jar file or WAR file, and then I go to the Google App Engine. I just deploy to the Google App Engine. So Google App Engine would have a container, inbuilt container, which would automatically deploy the application. It would also offer me some kind of APIs to connect to the database. Now it would take care of everything. So scaling, security, the database connectivity API, everything would be taken care by the Google. So my only focus was here was I just need to focus only on application development. The scaling, the hosting, security, the database connectivity, or like the APIs for the Google Chat, Google Hangout, everything would be done by the Google itself. So you would be relaxed much over there. Yeah, you need to use those APIs. So here Google provides you a platform to make your application. So it can give you a standardized environment to deploy your application, standardized environment to use your application. So that's the case of the platform as a service model. So again, one question is Horton Sandbox a pass? Frankly, I have not yet about the Horton Sandbox, so I don't know. But I tell you, OpenShift, if you know about from Red Hat, that's a pass. If you talk the Heroku, it's a pass. Microsoft Azure started with the pass only, and so the difference between pass and AWS, I'll come to that. In infrastructure as a service model, you will get ready to use infrastructure, something available to you immediately, and you can use that. So it can be like a virtual server, virtual map storage, it can be a virtual desktop or virtual network. That would be your infrastructure as a service model. Now you would say that what is the difference between infrastructure and a platform?
See, infrastructure, you go and say, I need 4 GB RAM machine, I need 8 GB RAM machine. Then you need to do some kind of automation that whenever it's required, it will be scaling up when you require. So you will be writing scripts for that automation, when you will be writing script for the backup, snapshot, everything over there. In platform as a service provider, most of the tasks could be done automatically. You just deployed the application. Now the backup, security, scaling, load distribution, everything would be taken care by that platform. So difference between the platform might be providing a virtual infrastructure. So it might be like an AWS, but it would be doing a lot of automation on top of that. So it's a platform as a service model. In infrastructure as a service model, you would be getting like a bare metal infrastructure which would be available to you. So you can get a virtual server, virtual storage, virtual network over there. That would be like your infrastructure as a service model. And now what happened that after these are the 3 service models, major 3 service models. Now people started defining that's now network as a service model. If you know the Andromeda from Google, it's a software defined networking. Then started the management as a service model. If you know the Workday or Open Day, something from the that's a business process as a service model. So they started defining more and more service models. So then it started falling in anything as a service model. Anything means your business as a service, management as a service, database as a service, network as a service. They might be classified in one or other of the first 3, but then people are, we know that's a fashion oriented industry, right? So they want to give the fancy name to attract the people. Ideally, when you go, it would be falling in these 3 major categories, but sometimes people use this anything as a service for that scenario also. Right, so are we clear now for these 3 service models? I have a few questions. By the time at least you can say if you have any doubts. Is Amazon providing all software platform and infrastructure service? Yes, it is, and we'll see that also. In that case, what can we categorize Amazon EC2? EC2 is a pure AWS. Venkat has a question, as a cloud user, it seems somewhat easier concept, but I wonder as a service provider how difficult it is to provide these services. Yeah, that depends what you're going to do. So if you're going to make your SaaS, you may need something which is a scalable infrastructure, on-demand service, how you would be providing, how do you charge back. It would be definitely a challenging. You need to implement that for sure. Right? So that would be there. Debron has a question that, can you please explain what is the purpose of desktop as a service? See, desktop as a service would be getting more and more popular. What happens? Currently, people would be having your, there is a difference between server and a desktop, right? So normally server class machine would have a different kind of OS, they would be specific, would have a different security over there. But sometimes you don't want to work on your own desktop because you have an organization where you can work from a different branches. You have also you are working in an on-site offshore kind of a model where your team sits in US or team sits in the India also. In that scenario, what would happen? That client can create a virtual desktop or virtual environment for you, so where you can always connect to that machine from India. The whole system would be hosted in some data center of the client. But whether you are in India, whether you are in USA, you are in Germany, you are in other part Europe, you can still access that machine. You would be working like you are logged into that your normal desktop over there only using the RDP or something over there. Difference would be there because you can have a centralized environment which you can access from anywhere in the world. Right, Debrun? Yeah. So Sandeep has a question. It seems PaaS and AWS will have to always work in tandem. I can't visualize a PaaS without AWS. In that scenario, if you go, even SaaS cannot work without AWS. Because SaaS would need anything which is a cloud would need on-demand elasticity. How would you provide without AWS? You need some rapid infrastructure. But the difference would be when you go to the PaaS, you do not care what is the underlying AWS over there. Whether they are using Amazon, Rackspace or something over there, how they are managing, you don't care. You only care for the PaaS part. Because for you, the end user is offering PaaS, underlying infrastructure, how that is doing, that you do not care. Same way you go for the SaaS, it may be doing underlying AWS, but you do not care how it's doing that. For you, the important part would be the service to use the software. Right? Am I making sense now? Clear everybody? Sandeep, Debrun, Amit? Great. So we'll just take on the deployment models and then we can take a break. So now this is more about the which kind of service it is providing, but also where it is hosted also important. suppose this is hosted over the internet, so you can access something from across the world. What we are seeing with the Amazon, Google, Office 365, Salesforce, everything is the case of the public cloud, which is accessible over the internet anywhere, and they normally have a multi-tenant system. They will be providing a multi-tenant system. But sometimes you want more security. Like somebody asked me, are the organization open for this multi-tenant system? Sometimes they may not be based on the use case. So what they would do is they can make that, okay, let me make my own cloud, because for me the security is more important. So in that case, you can make your own cloud within your data center, which is accessible to your organization only over the intranet. So that will be a private cloud. So VMware, you might have heard the hypervisor's name like VMware or Zen open source, something like, or the Hyper-V from the Microsoft. Those are the popular cases for that. And you can use that. But ultimate thing is, even if you make a private cloud, it should have the first 4 attributes for sure, and then it will be a single tenant. But it would be using, since it's doing the virtualization, it would be using the resource pooling effectively using for the single tenant. Sometimes the only challenge with the private cloud is it will have a finite number of resources, because what would happen in that scenario, if you have purchased a procured infrastructure of a 40 GB RAM and you created a virtual cloud over there, so it can scale up to 40 GB RAM only. Now if you need in some scenario to go beyond 40 GB, it may not be possible. You may need to procure an infrastructure another. So in that case, the private cloud would always have a finite number of resources. And the generic purpose, again I'm not saying, but the public cloud provides you virtually unlimited resources. Virtually I'm saying, because they have the huge capacity available which can meet your requirement. That's why the private cloud would be sometimes, so you want the scalability beyond certain limit, then in that scenario what would you do? You host your web application over the public cloud, but keep all your data secure in a private cloud. And you connect both the clouds with some secure channel like a VPN tunnel or something over there. That model is called a hybrid cloud. In a hybrid cloud, it would be a mix of the public and private. So it's a hybrid cloud over there. Now, in the community cloud, so this is the public, private and hybrid. Suppose we talk the case of the HDFC, ICICI and Axis Bank. They said, we don't want to go to the Finacle or Infosys, because that Infosys can share to the State Bank of India also, they can share to some Bank of America also. We don't like that. Then let's do one thing. We have the all money power, we have all the resources available. Let's make our own data center. Let's make our own application, which is accessible to Axis, HDFC and ICICI. In that case, it's not a public cloud because it's accessible to only these 3 organizations only. It's not a private cloud because it's not for a particular organization only. It's not a hybrid because it's not mix of the public and private. It's a community cloud where the like people with the like-minded or like-minded people or the people from similar kind of requirement come together and form their own cloud, which is accessible by this community of people only. That is called the community cloud. So it's a little more than the private cloud, but much lesser than the public cloud because it's not accessible for the open world. At the same time, it's little more than the private cloud. So these are the 4 deployment models of the cloud computing also. A few questions here. Is there anything like a clustered service for a redundancy? Each cloud provider needs to provide some kind of redundancy, and we go to the Amazon, we'll see how do you achieve the redundancy. Even my day 7 would talk in depth about the redundancy with the Amazon Web Services. On Debrun has a question that what multiple LOBs in a company be considered as a separate tenants? Would private cloud have multiple tenants in that case? You can do that again, but see in this scenario, those different LOBs would be like your end users. So your cloud would be more like your single tenant for your organization, because you are not doing any customization, but you are just providing them some services to the different LOBs. So you need to implement the chargeback to those LOBs, but most of the cases it will fall in a single tenant only. Yeah, based on your requirement, you can define as a public cloud or a multi-tenant, but I would rather normally go with a single tenant with the different users requirements where you charge back on those those LOBs. So Jinsen has a question, can you give some example of hybrid cloud? Best example would be if I say Amazon provides the Amazon VPC, virtual private cloud. Now you would be having there are so many applications now using the VPC. What would be happening in case you have stored everything in your database? All your applications are in your database, all your secure data is in your database, you do not want to host it outside. So your database is secure within your data center, you want to take its backup. You need to get the scalability of Amazon, so you have hosted your web application in Amazon. Now you set up the VPC where the VPC of Amazon is connected with your data center over a virtual private gateway. So in that scenario, whenever the web server has to fetch certain data, it would be calling over that virtual private tunnel to your data center, get the data, and then show you the data. Yeah, it might affect the performance, but at the same time, it would give you the best of the security. So that's the case of the hybrid cloud. What are the other cloud providers than the Amazon? I'll come to that in the next slide. So, any questions? Okay, so I guess we have crossed a little more than limit because we started a little late. So let's take a break now. You can keep, so Gmail is a public cloud. Obviously, Gmail is a public cloud, 101% it's a public cloud. We all can access Gmail, right? So even if it's for there, only thing would be, you would be accessing from the internet only, it would be customized for your requirement. Okay, so let's take a break now. It's 8:43 my watch. We will meet back by 8:50. We would not take a long break now today, just 7 minutes of the break. So let's meet back in 7 minutes. A few questions from Rakesh. AWS does not provide SaaS PaaS service. AWS does provide. Major is AWS. Also, is there anything a cloud provider can't provide? I'm not sure for your question, what you're asking. It's a very broad level question. For example, if you go to SaaS provider and say, can you provide AWS? He may not provide. If you go to AWS provider and can you say, you can provide me SaaS? He may not have offering for that. So it's a very broad level question. Okay, so a few examples of the AWS SaaS PaaS. In the AWS model, we have the most popular or the most used AWS. We have Rackspace. We have a Terramark, which is now procured by the Verizon. We have a Microsoft now. Google, Microsoft, Amazon are leading now. Google has a Google Compute Engine. Yes, Google Compute, not the Google App Engine. Google Compute Engine is Google's AWS official offering. Microsoft has a Azure for PaaS and SaaS both. You can use the VMware to make your own private cloud. That's also there. On the PaaS side, it would be more like a Force.com, Heroku, Google App Engine. Amazon also has a AWS Elastic Beanstalk. The Cloud Foundry is there, CloudBees, Appian. On the SaaS model, we have a Google Docs. Now Amazon has a Docomo, Salesforce.com, Microsoft Dynamics CRM, Oracle has some offering, the Office 365, Oracle NetSuite over there. So there are various offerings over there. Okay. So somebody says that one of the participants was thrown out and not able to connect. Frankly, I'm not sure how to do that. You can do one thing would be, you can contact our support team, or he can just mail to our AWS at Edureka, our support team over there, and we'll be able to help on that. Again, this question, again repeat, is AWS or PaaS? AWS, he's having all the kind of offerings. AWS, PaaS and SaaS, the major offering is AWS only, but it does have some other products for the PaaS and SaaS also. Okay, so a question from Jinson, if the private cloud is accessible on same network, then how would we satisfy the pay per user attributes? See, that's why your chargeback mechanism would come in a picture. There are a lot of cloud brokerage service available which can help you to implement that. So based on the amount they are using, whatever they are, based on maybe on IP address or based on the number of servers provided to them, based on that you can charge back over there. There are various mechanisms you can charge back to it's not only over the internet. Because even if you go for the Amazon also, they don't charge you from where you are accessing. What you are accessing on Amazon, they charge you on that level. Okay, So moving on little, the SaaS, PaaS and IaaS models, we saw that if you see the end user for them, the more would be that at the SaaS level, it would be the end users, consumer level. So even if you are a technical person, when you go to Gmail, you don't need to be technical. Anybody can use the SaaS Gmail. So it's from them end user is a user over there. In the PaaS model, it's about the application owner. Whoever owns the application would be using that. In the IaaS model, it would be more about the system admin side who would be deploying something on using IaaS, or who would be creating IaaS. They would be the user over there, right? One question in previous slide, Gartner cycle is time versus expectation. Here it is showing some other thing. What is it exactly? I'm not sure what you are talking about. Can you just elaborate more, Chandra? Yeah. So question would be, how do you define a pay-as-you-go model? See, you can charge back. If you're offering SaaS, normally you charge the users based on the number of users, and that's again, it's not the only solution, but a few sample example we have listed here. You can, if you're making SaaS, like Gmail charges based on the number of users license you're taking, or the number of locations you are going to be served from. So based on that, it will be serving. In the PaaS model, mainly it will be either based on the data you are consuming, data you're doing IO, data you would be using. Based on that, it would be charging over there. In the IaaS model, generally it will be either how much storage you are using, or how much hours you are running over there, or how much IO you are making. Based on that, they will be charging. So pay-as-you-go model would always have a different scenarios. So when you want to make your cloud, you need to find out, okay, what is my offering? Now, how would I charge back the user? So what way? So is it on hourly basis, on a storage basis? Now, then based on that, you need to implement the measurement system. For example, you are providing a virtual service to your end users, a virtual, that's IaaS offering. Now you say I would be charging on an instance hours base. Then you need a mechanism which would be measuring the running hours of each instance. So when it's provisioned to the user, and then when it's user terminates, how do you need to measure that, and you would be charging back based on that. Then there would be a data transfer. So if the user is doing some IO on that instance, based on that, you can charge back the users over there. So these are the various mechanisms for the chargeback. Frankly, some of the slides, because I spent a huge amount of time for explaining certain things, and I would always focus those aspects where I see would be carrying more values. Some of the things which are self-explanatory, I'll just try to read out, because I know you all come from a different IT background and would be easy to understand. So if you in between you have any doubts, you can keep on asking me that also. On the IaaS model, so there are some benefits and risks. So definitely, if you talk about the public IaaS or maybe private, the on-demand infrastructure is one of the biggest advantage. But at the same time, if it's a public cloud, you worry about the security, you worry about the data persistence, you worry about the data aggregation, because what happens over there, or you worry about the business risk or outage. If cloud is down, it has happened in the past, frankly, it has definitely happened in the past. So that's also one of the challenges for the people. In the PaaS model, it would be like your standardized development environment. So how it would be working, you get the easy to use, like if you use the OpenShift or Heroku or something, you can get the easy to use development environment. At the same time, you would be getting the rapid development and testing environment also. Just a second. The PaaS would have one of the biggest challenge would be the vendor lock-in, where if you want to move from one PaaS to another, you cannot move it very easily. Same way in the SaaS model, because in the PaaS model you might be using the APIs from the cloud provider, so you always worry about that. Same way in the SaaS model, you also have the reusable service. You don't need to, you work as an end user only, but you will always have a vendor lock-in. You would have a lack of control also. So Nirmal is what is non-legacy application? It can be, so your legacy application would be something more like your, you can say your mainframes and those kind of scenario. On non-legacy would be something your client server based application you develop, that could be also there. So it could be any application which you say. If you are making a client server based desktop based application, that would be more like your non-legacy application. And if you want to move it to the on-demand or internet over there, or something, or web application which you have made and you want to use IaaS for that, that could be there. Now a very important slide, and somebody asked me, can I say my dedicated IT to cloud or all that scenario? So again, I'll spend a few more minutes here on this slide because I believe this would also clear some of your doubts. So first thing, we take the case of the dedicated IT. So dedicated IT, I would not call it completely, or you can call it your private cloud also. This can be your private cloud also. In the hosting providers, it would be like your private cloud, but where it will be hosted by some other third-party provider. So in this scenario, dedicated IT, you would be making in-house private cloud. In hosting provider, there are so many hosting providers across the world, so you go to there, so they would be having the data centers where they would be procuring infrastructure for you. They would, so you don't need to invest in real estate. They would be configuring as per your requirement. You can always say that, okay, procure a 5 GB RAM machine or 16 GB RAM machine, or they can, you can sometimes also say that, okay, select this kind of internet service provider, provide me this kind of a backup over there. So this would be your hosting providers. So dedicated IT and hosting provider, in dedicated would be in-house. Hosting provider would be somewhere you would be going over there, where you would be having a physical control to work with your infrastructure. When you go to the public AWS, it's a cloud provider, public cloud provider like Amazon, where you do not know where they are hosted. You do not have any access to the data center, except they provide you the virtual environment only. So you get whatever you get is over the internet. You cannot go physically to the Amazon data center and say, show me my server. That will never happen. Amazon never gives the location of the data center. Same way, the public PaaS is the offering of the public PaaS and public SaaS. Now, when you see the green box, it means you have the full control. You own everything. Yellow box, where you share the control with some provider. And red box would be where you do not control anything. Now, don't go by the colors where you say that the red means the danger and green means that everything is nice. That's not the concept here. It can be vice versa. Here would be the green means you own everything. So you control everything, but you are also responsible to manage it. So if you have to take the backup, you have to provide the disaster recovery, you have to plan some other scenarios, you own it, so you manage it. In this scenario red, it would be where it's not in your cloud. It means not in your control, so you do not own it, you do not manage it. So in that scenario, you would be responsible to provide the service. So you are not responsible to provide the service. So you are not responsible for the high availability. You are not responsible for the backup, disaster recovery, anything. Everything would be taken care by this service provider. Yeah. At the same time, you may worry about the security also, because security would be a challenge here in this scenario. So you may worry that, okay, whether it is secure or not. So with this aspect, let me explain what happens in this various scenarios. When you go to the dedicated IT, you have your own data center, everything. So you own the storage, you own the server, you own on that server when you virtualize and you create virtual VM, virtual machine, you own that. You will be deploying an application on that, you own that. You own the data, so you take the backup, you provide the disaster recovery, everything. Only thing which you do not own or manage would be network, because you might be taking the network either from you can say the Time Warner or the AT&T, or in India you can say the Bharti Airtel or the Tata Communication or Reliance. Yes. So here it can have a multiple point of failures. It can fail from the Bharti Airtel also, or it can fail from your end also. So yellow means it will have a multiple failure points, but at the same time you have to ensure that it's available to everyone. Green means you only manage, so it can be only single point of failure, but you have to manage it completely. When I go to some dedicated IT to the hosting provider, you don't own the infrastructure. It would be by the hosting provider. It will allow you, it might allow you the physical access, so you can dictate the term, say that please take the service from Bharti Airtel and provide the backup of the Tata. So, or you can say provide me the internet of a 4 Gbps line, something like that. Then the storage would be in his data center, so it's a shared. Again, the infrastructure, the physical box would be belong to you. So, but that physical box, whatever the storage hard disk would be there, it will be in his data center, so it's a shared. On that physical box, if you create a server virtualization, that physical box is still there, so it's a shared. But now on that physical box, if you create a virtual machine, that virtual machine you would have only your key, so you can access that, and you would be able to access from your own office also, your own organization data center. So that's why the VM would be completely in your control. Nobody else can control. On VM, whichever application you install would be your control. That data, whichever you say, would be your control. So here, these three you need to manage. You need to take plan for the backup and disaster recovery, and you are responsible for the security of these three. In these three, it's a shared responsibility between you and the service provider. When you go to the cloud, you do not know where the cloud data center is, so you cannot know which physical environment they are providing using. You don't know whether they're using Intel, Dell, whatever, it's 4 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM, what they are using. So you don't know network, you don't know storage, you don't know server. Yes, they will provide you a virtual machine. Now that virtual machine would be a shared because it's being created in the on the server of the service provider. So if the service provider wants, service provider would not have the access of the VM, but they can, if they plug out the server, your control would be lost. Plus the keys would be provided by the service provider. So the key would be there also in the service provider. If the service provider has some issue, you may not be able to authenticate and log in over there. So that's the VM over there. On that VM, whatever application you own, you manage. On that, whatever the data is stored on that VM will be completely in your control. Service provider would not be having access to that. Now when you go to the PaaS model, you will have all three things available, same way as there. But in the past, they don't give you VM because it's not a virtual infrastructure, it's a virtual services, virtual applications. So the service and application would be again stored. You use the Google App Engine, so they would be providing the APIs to connect to the deploy the application, APIs to connect to the Google Chat over there. So this way, they would be providing the services which would be shared between you and service provider. Now your data, your application generates whatever the data on top of that, that is completely in your control. Nobody else can see that data because the application is created by you. So that application, whatever data is generated would be in your format. You need to manage, and the PaaS provider would not know what is the data over there. If you go to SaaS model, you do not own network, storage, server. Even services and app you do not own because it's a completely ready to use service available to you. You just start consuming. You go to the Gmail, so you can't say that, okay, provide me, go to Gmail and say provide me the hosting also. Gmail says no, that's not my offering, right? So you can't term for the app and services. Yes, the data would be little shared and you would wonder why. I'll tell you the best example. If you are in a Gmail and if you are writing a mail to someone and saying, I'm sending this attachment for your reference, or I am attaching this file for your reference, you just say that, and you do not attach any file and just press the send button. What does it do? It will give you warning saying, did you mean to attach something and you did not attach, right? So in that scenario, it's using artificial intelligence to read your mail. Now, we believe it's a Gmail is not doing any harmful thing, but it can be harmful. It might be misused, and we all know about the Prism case where NIA, the US, what was the NIA? I think National Institute of, not NIA, sorry, what was that? US security agencies, CIA. CIA did the arm twisting for the big four cloud providers, and then they did some data over there. So data can be a shared model here. So that's a worry. Even there is a, if you go to the LinkedIn or you Google out there is a case where one article which is becoming more and more famous now, article from a guy called Mike who is written why I left Facebook. And he says that he has written a very good article. He says the Mark Zuckerberg is by default a hacker. He's titled as a hacker only. So I don't feel my data is secure, and what he was seeing at the Facebook level, he was more worried because he's seeing that quite a few of data is being given to the advertiser without your information. So this scenario, your data might be a shared case. So that's the case here. That's a distribution of control between service models. Again, it all depends on the service provider. I don't say the red means it's a danger. You should not use the public. But if you trust them, you know they are not doing wrong. You can use that. If you find it something wrong, you can make your own service also. Right? So are we clear with this concept now? A few questions. Venkat says, if a customer move to cloud and decide to move back in PaaS and SaaS model, will cloud vendor provide the data back? See, you can always, in SaaS you can't get the data out. If you go to the Gmail, there would be a mechanism available where you can always migrate the data. So there are always people available that you can migrate from Gmail to the Outlook Online or from Outlook to Gmail. There are a few cases there, but you need to do a better mechanism over there. Chitti mentioned there is some audio issue. Are you all facing the audio issue? So are we all facing the network issue, audio issue something? Okay, Shiva Kumar says he's also facing that. Venkat says sometimes, I'm not sure, but maybe something issue looks at the Google level, I believe, sorry, go to webinar level. But yeah, if you feel some problem, do let me know. I'll immediately work something. One question from Venkat, is dedicated IT model network means internet service only? No. Venkat, dedicated IT model, okay, in dedicated IT model network would be, yes, that will be internet only. I do not mean the intranet here. You can think intranet also, but I kept it share because it will be internet. Normally, if you are going to access something over the internet from your virtual machine anywhere, you need a network. So here I meant by the internet only. Right? Any other doubts or questions? Are we clear? So Sanjeev has a question, do cloud service providers having servers data center in different part of the world which can be selected to put service on cloud base? Sanjeev, I'll come to your question when I start Amazon. I'll answer this thing also. Yeah, anything else? Any doubts or questions? Yes or no? Sleeping? Knock knock. Morning alarm. Yeah, I know. If India, it might be early to wake up and good. So I just hope. Chandra has a good question. Will Edureka come under public SaaS? I'll not go to say Edureka is a SaaS, frankly, because it's not something on demand. When you need it, training is available. It's quite a few things that manually, right? You go and just enroll. Then whenever there is a session, only you can see that session. It's not an automated your learning experience. So I would not define Edureka in any kind of a cloud provider, frankly. Okay, so coming back to cloud computing deployment models, we talk about the public, private, and hybrid in detail before. So advantage of public would be the massively scalable infrastructure. Private cloud would always have that as a restriction because it would have a finite infrastructure only. And then chargeback would be to the line of business users only. So in cloud computing model in a company's own data center providers, so private cloud would be normally within your own data center or from the dedicated the hosting providers only. Hybrid would have the advantage of the both as well as the disadvantage of the both also if not taken care properly. This is one of the example of the hybrid cloud when you see this over here, where GoGrid provides the hybrid cloud. Amazon VPC has the also mechanism to provide the hybrid cloud scenario. Now, same way we talk about the advantage and disadvantage of the both. Would be there, public would be having the cost, time to market, elasticity. It would be easier, while the private would always have the advantage of the control, better security implementation. But at the same time, the scaling is an issue in the private cloud. Return on investment would be an issue. The chargeback would be an issue. While in the public cloud, the security can be an issue. The vendor lock-in would be an issue. In a hybrid, as I said, it will have a multiple point of failures, and at the same time, it can have the advantages of both also. Just example of a cloud economics, just a second. So this is like just generic comparison whether the cloud is useful or not. So this is in a case where if you go and try to buy around 100 GB something, I won't say 100, around 64 GB RAM machine from Amazon, it would be costing you around 60 cents per hour. If you go to the market and try to purchase similar scenario, it might be costing you around $9,600. if you count the cost of the over the 3 years, it would be costing you something. The Amazon would be charge you hourly basis. It's a 60 cents per hour. In-house, it would be costing you something 36 cents per hour. But the biggest difference would be the resource utilization. Cloud uses the resource optimization, optimal resource utilization, multi-tenancy. So as per the Gartner, Forrester, the cloud is generally, I would say, they would say 90% utilized. While if you go to your own in-house IT, they are 20 to 30%, but still because we know if I need a 16 GB RAM, you would normally go and ask for 32 GB RAM only or 64 GB RAM only. So that's why your in-house would be generally 40% utilized. We go in a little conservative way. In that scenario, your effective cost for cloud would be coming around 85 cents per hour, while for in-house IT, it would be coming around 90 cents per hour. Best part, in cloud, you do not pay for the electricity. So that would be zero cost. At the same time, in the admin, the maintenance of the admin would be the 1/10 of what you do in-house. Because if you are in-house, you have to manage your complete cloud or your in-house IT. You have to do patching on your own. You have to keep on taking the backups, snapshots, everything, mechanism, disaster recovery, you have to do completely on your own. While in the cloud case, everything is being, rather I would say everything, 80% of scenarios are done automatically by cloud, or they provide the scenarios where it can be done automation easily. So over that period, if you see, the average utilization of the Amazon comes 86 cents per hour, while for in-house IT it will be coming around $36 over there. So again, we have not counted the biggest cost of the real estate, the annual maintenance contract, the admin cost over there for the AMC over there. Plus, we generally see down the line 3 years, your hardware starts becoming obsolete. They would need to be refurbished or replaced over there. While in the cloud providers would keep on taking the care of that. So comparing all this scenario, the cloud is almost 1.5 to 2 times cheaper in most of the scenario than the in-house IT. So definitely a cost would be one of the biggest factor while people would be moving to the cloud along with the scalability. So with that, we define a few agility or the few characteristic of the cloud. Agility, that's one of the scenario because it provides rapid elasticity, on demand, it's a scalable, it's a cheaper option, so it's a much cost effective to use. Also, since it provides the multi-tenancy, it would be providing you the effective resource utilization and centralize of the infrastructure and the lower the total cost of ownership over there. Best part, it's a device and location independent, so you can access from anywhere over the world, PC, mobile, tablets, anywhere you can use that. It's a much reliable model, and frankly, you need to agree with that because what we used to see cloud in 2009 and what we see today, it's much better. Yeah, I won't define that cloud is a much mature now. I believe by 2015-16 cloud would be the much mature and better over there, but generally it's a much better situation what it used to be, and that's why it's a much reliable model now. What we used to see in the outage in the last 4 years back, now we are not seeing any kind of outage like that. It's a highly scalable, highly on demand. It's one of the most sustainable model because it provides the improved resource utilization, more efficient ways. And since it's a virtualized, so it will be having the better resource optimization or resource utilization also. So these are not the exhaustive list, but some of the key characteristics of the cloud computing. So question is from Venkat Rao, when a service is hosted on virtual machine, if OS or database patching need to be done, then how the cloud there will be no outage? Generally, if you are just doing a normal patching, it would not need any kind of outage. Frankly, you just apply the patch over there, it may be scenario where you might need to do reboot. Agreed. In that scenario, it may be outage, but that may be one of the virtual machine be dying. But cloud has an offering where you can have a multiple virtual machines. So even if the one virtual machine is not available, the others would keep serving your requirements. So it would have almost no downtime. And that's what we'll talk further when we go more and more about the Amazon, and we'll understand how we can achieve the disaster recovery, high availability with the Amazon Web Services. And as I said before also, my day 7 is dedicated for this. A few use cases for the cloud where it's becoming more and more popular would be infrastructure transformation, where people are moving from their in-house IT to cloud, and we have seen a lots of cases for that. SaaS is one of the most popular for CRM like Salesforce, email, for the Gmail over there. Then for the development and testing, that's one of the very useful example. For example, you have a production server which is a 128 GB RAM machine. Now you want to do some kind of a load testing, or you want to simulate that scenario. How do you do that? You can't do the testing on production because it's a production server. In that scenario, you need to procure a new infrastructure which would be 128 GB RAM machine. And in 80% scenario, that machine would be idle, would not be used, because it's only used for the development and only when there is a case for that testing. So if you go to the cloud, cloud provides you the on-demand scalability. So whenever you need, it would be able to scale up. So it will provide you the infrastructure of 128 GB RAM. You pay for the amount you are using. When you don't need it, you terminate that, so it will not be charged to you. So that's why the dev and test would be one of the best solution. Amazon is very popular for the hosted, and we will see at the end of the session how many websites are, some more than 10 lakhs websites are hosted in Amazon as of now. So that's why hosted solution is one of the biggest advantage of the cloud. Content delivery networks, they provide you the online video streaming, the image and all that for the part. You know, Akamai, Amazon also has a similar kind of offering. We'll see that. High performance computing, that's one of the case. Frankly, Amazon has a case where you can make your own mini supercomputer within 10 to 15 minutes, which would be chargeable around $4 to $5 per hourly basis. So it provides you the GPU class cases server. You can cluster them and make your own high performance computing. So that's why it's very helpful. Same way what we mentioned about the development and testing, if you want to do some kind of a proof of concepts, this is also very helpful for you. Cloud is for the backup, a very helpful scenario. So all your in-house IT, you can be stored over there. For disaster recovery also, it's very helpful for you. You can use the VPCs and private clouds also there for the cloud. So these are some of the typical use case of the cloud computing. And cloud caters to many verticals, a few just for your example, where manufacturing, if you see the CRM like Salesforce is one of the most popular. SAP also started the SAP HANA. We all know Vishal Sikka, now Infosys CEO. He was the brain behind the SAP HANA. Healthcare also has initially just email and disaster recovery. Also on the education side, they are doing more and more over there. There is a communication media collaboration. The cloud is being used. Banking is little lagging behind because of the security of the data. So they are more into private cloud than the public cloud. Insurance is also catching up more because they need some kind of a computing, and then the forecasting and predicting where cloud is coming healthy for them. Now, a question which quite a few people ask me in the beginning of the session: what skill do I need to learn this session? Frankly, you possess Java, .NET, PHP, Ruby, any kind of a programming language, you can use the cloud, because you can use the cloud to make your own PaaS, to make your own SaaS, or you can use AWS to host your own application over there. So that's therefore, if you are having an infrastructure skill like a DBA, storage, VMware, virtualization over there, you can make your own cloud, or you can go to the Amazon and then use the Amazon infrastructure to manage it better way over there. So any kind of a skill you would have, it would be helpful to learn these sessions. Now, we talk about the interoperability. That's not easy to move from one cloud to another cloud very easily. So there is a movement started for the cloud and open source. And for that, so the cloud computing offers you the new opportunities and open source movement over there, where the concept here is open cloud equal to, they should have open interfaces and open formats. So there should be a standardized format which would be acceptable by the most service providers. So if I'm making some APIs, if I change from one vendor to another vendor, I can use the same APIs, just the service providers level configuration only would be different here then. A few service providers, like in the AWS model, we have the cloud stack, which helps you to make your own private cloud. OpenStack also helps you for that. Eucalyptus also follows the API standard of the Amazon and helps you to make your own AWS. In the PaaS model, Cloud Foundry is there. Same way is the OpenShift is there, which is also from the Red Hat Cloud. So there are various options. Heroku is also there in the PaaS model. which is on the open source model also. So till now we talk about all the goodies of the cloud. Any doubts or concerns now? Good, at least good to know 2 people are good out of 25-30 people. Okay, so Sanjeev has a question. Why should we move to the private cloud from our current service model, as in both cases the data center is managed by the organization? See, if you move to the private cloud, what you get is a on-demand availability, scalability. If you're having your own IT, suppose you have a machine of a 16 GB RAM or 20 GB RAM. Now, if you don't do the cloud part, virtualization over there, it would be available to only single person. You would not be able to segregate across the multiple users. If you go to the cloud, make it cloud, you can give the 5 different instances to 5 different users. You would be doing the optimal resource utilization. You can charge back based on that also. So you will have a better resource utilization and you will be able to scale up better way. Going forward, right Sanjeev? So cloud computing has a few concerns people would have. See, this is little charts where people say one of the major concern for the people was security. And I would not doubt that, because we have seen in the past so many cases where the security was compromised. We have seen the case of the PlayStation 3, Twitter also had something, LinkedIn also had something in the past. Fortunately, in Amazon or Google, I have not yet any kind of a security hack. Yeah, there can be some downtimes, but not on the security levels for sure. So the people would have a concern for the cloud computing would be your loss of control. We saw that loss of control in the cloud, a complete dedicated site for that. And how do you integrate? So how do you have, if you have federated applications, your legacy applications, how do you integrate them over the cloud? How do you achieve the interoperability? That's also one of the scenarios. Whether cloud is really reliable or not, will I get the performance as expected? See, you go to the big 3, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they would give you the requirement, but not every cloud fits in that. So whether I would get the best of the resource or not. What about the vendor lock-in? So that's also one of the reason why will I get the whatever feature I need or not. So that's also one of the concern. Also policy and compliance concern. So how the policies, your organization might have some X kind of a policy where the cloud would be able to meet that or not. Is cloud following the breach forensics and mitigation part or not? How does it take care of the business surprises? So it would be able to, if cloud is down, what? If it supports small lock-ins, so it can be a creative destruction. So somebody introduces a virus, it's a multi-tenant, would it harm my system or not? Whether it has taken care of the real segregation or not. So those are the various cases which would be harmful or you need to understand better. So Jinsen says, I am a little confused on private cloud. Could you please give an example? See, I can't give you the exact example. Private cloud would be something you have created within your data center. It would be like your normal infrastructure, but follows the first 4 attributes. It will be a single tenant. So first 4 attributes of the cloud computing. So it will be available over internet or intranet. It will be having the scalability. It will be having the optimal resource utilization, or it will be having the measured service. Then only it will be private cloud. Best example would be if you have used the hypervisors like VMware, Hyper-V or Zen open source, you can virtualize an environment. Now once you virtualize, you should always have some console or the self provision where it can provision more resources. It can do the scaling part over there. Best case would be if you see the OpenStack, if you have used that, it can help you to make your own private cloud. So these are the cases for the private cloud. OpenStack, again, the hypervisors help you just to virtualize. OpenStack or those scenario would be Eucalyptus would really do your implementing the making a private cloud case for you. Yeah, VMware also helps you for that. So this is what the private cloud for you. Now going forward, see, security is definitely a concern in the cloud. We saw that also. Now for that there is an alliance come up. It's by the big organization of the cloud providers like the Google, Amazon, and top organizations have part of this. That's called the CSA, Cloud Security Alliance, and they come out with the top 9 threats of the cloud computing. So these are the top 9 threats, And there is a also they have come out with a very good white paper on these top 9 threats, which would say why this is a threat, what is the mitigation over this. So if you see when you get this PPT, there is a link at the bottom of this slide, which you may not be able to see now. But you can do one thing, you can just Google on the notorious 9 or top 9 threats by CSA, Cloud Security Alliance. You would get a PDF for that, or you can get from this PPT also when you get, and read out that. It's a very nice to read for you. So definitely security would be one of the aspects majorly in the public cloud when you go there. So that's why the people go to the private cloud where it would be for your specific organization only. So normally what would happen in a private cloud? It would be a big data center where you would be having a huge number of servers, but it would be accessible over intranet to your organization only, or over the VPN tunnel. It would be having the virtualized technologies and then some tools to make your cloud enable, like the chargeback mechanism and the on-demand provision, and all that part would be there. So that would be a case of your private cloud. So to summarize the cloud is definitely a cheaper, majorly on the public. It's a much scalable. It's more like a operational expense than the capital expense. It's an on-demand service. In the negative part, you would see it would be more about the, if you can have a hardware failure over there, it can have a vendor lock-in also. Security is definitely one of the issue also in the cloud. And cloud is not yet completely mature. I'd say it's much better stage, much stable state, and I would say by the 2016-17 you would see much more mature level of the cloud computing. So it's a growing, it's maturing more and more. But that's the about the cloud computing. So we bring the end to the cloud computing session. Last slide for the cloud computing. Yeah, we are not ending the session now, we are just ending the cloud computing theory. Here you can manage the shift from product to service. When you are doing the cloud computing, you need to understand this. You have to find out how you are going to charge back the customers. You have to identify your SLA models. How would you be establishing then the demand and rights for as a consumer? How would you be achieving the high availability or meet those 5 attributes of the cloud computing? So those are all the challenges you need to understand before you move to the cloud. If you're a cloud developer, you need to think on those aspects. If you're a cloud consumer, you need to think what are my demands and rights, what can I get as a cloud consumer, how would you be offering all the services over there. So you need to think all these aspects, and then you can move to the cloud very easily. So with this all on mind, let's go to the most popular cloud, Amazon Web Services. But before I go there, any questions or doubt on cloud computing? Was I able to answer all your questions? Anything left? Anything you are not clear? Okay, good. Thanks for the feedback. Now, couple of things. Are you enjoying or are you feeling bored? And I would like everyone to answer here, please. Yeah. The reason is, see, if you find something not going right or you want to change certain kind of a methods, because that's why you evolve. Good to know. So people are awake still. It's late. I know it's in the Eastern Coast. It must be much more later. It's almost 12 over there, or almost 11:30 over there. Still there. So rather 12 over there. Now, this Amazon session, I would not take more than 40-45 minutes based on the questions. So don't worry. We would try to cover. Yeah, a question for me. Where am I located? I would say in some part of the India. I'm in India only. So I'm from there. Yeah, one thing again, in case you need to run out, because I know it's a late night, somebody might be feeling dozy. I know it happens. So in case if you have to leave early, don't worry, we would be recording and uploading the session. Second point, when you leave the session, there is a feedback form at the end of the session. If you enjoyed the session, give feedback accordingly. If you want to see some changes, you want to provide some improvement suggestions, anything you have there, do provide the feedback. That's what keep us motivated. So I would like you to hear from you that do keep us motivated, or you have any feedback. That's why how we evolve and the work on that. Right? So Yeah, good question from Sri Harsha that when would I get the presentation and the recording? The presentation would be available in your learning management system. I'm sure everybody would have access to your LMS. Yeah, recording would be, it takes a little while because it takes a while to generate the file and takes a while to upload. So I would believe maximum by tomorrow noon, India time, you would be able to get that. We will try to make it as early as possible, but you need to give some time over there to make it possible. Okay, so can we move now? Are you ready to fly to Amazon? Okay, so Surendu says, can you type in the notepad and explain rather than using the pen? See, frankly, I use the pen because it is easier to draw something over there. May not be working always for the over there, so, or even I want to highlight something. But I'll try to see, definitely a good point. We'll see if I can do. See, I don't use the notepad because the reason would be I can type, I've already written something, so I don't want to type something there. But yeah, if required, I'll definitely do that also. Thanks, Surendra, for that feedback. Now, coming to Amazon Web Services. What is Amazon Web Services? So for that, again, I'll start with a story. I like that story, right? Yeah, so I'll start with the story. Do you know Jeff Bezos? Anyone? Jeff Bezos? Right, Venkat? He is Amazon CEO. Now, why am I coming here? See, Jeff is a micromanager. He's a very tough manager to work with. But like Steve Jobs, he is also a visionary. He is also a very able manager. Yeah, only thing is too tough to work with him because he's a shrewd businessman and likes to do micromanage and things likes to in his control. That's his characteristic. Okay, we are not talking about that. We are talking about the case of the 2002 where Amazon was the largest service provider across the world. And that time, around 2002, Amazon was growing more and more, and almost it was a $4.6 billion company that time. So you would believe that what was their capacity, but they were facing some issues there. They were not able to scale beyond certain limit. And Jeff had a meeting. Jeff is ably supported by his CTO, Dr. Werner Vogels. Dr. Werner Vogels is a very famous CTO from Amazon, and he's also one of the mind or reason why Amazon is so successful in Amazon Cloud or Amazon.com over there for technology aspect. Yeah, so coming to the Dr. Werner Vogels and then, so they had some ideas and they thought that, okay, we are not able to scale beyond certain limits. The scalability is not working out. So what was the solution? And then they come out with the solution would be, we should use everything for a web service. I'm talking in 2002, that web service was not so popular, or I won't say it's so mature also. But, and Jeff made a mandate for each and everyone that if you are going to use Amazon, you are going to develop something for Amazon, not going to use, you are going to develop something for Amazon, you have to do the web service part only. If you don't use the web service, you leave the Amazon. He made that a mandate for each and every of his employees. And that started a movement in Amazon for a web service movement. So everything what they develop on the Amazon.com was on a web service base. So new offering what they're making, what are they doing? They started doing a web service, and that started giving them more and more result. It was able to scale up more. It was able to sustain the model, and everything was there. Coming back to our story today, we all know Amazon.com as a consumer and retail business. Amazon is also famous where you can sell your own business over there. So it would be there for, you can sell your own products on the Amazon.com. Now we also have Amazon.in. But in 2006, around last quarter or Q3, they started a web service called Amazon Web Service, which was the Amazon's first cloud offering. And it has grown so phenomenally in last 8 years that it is the largest service provider across the largest cloud service provider across the world. And it leads its competitors by the huge number of margins. And why do I say huge? I'll come to that in a slide. So our focus would be Amazon Web Service, because people do ask me why web service, because everything is on a web service model. So that's the one of the reason, and it provides the cloud offering. So we will be, it's Amazon's IT infrastructure business. Amazon started as an IT infrastructure, and I would say that currently 80% of products are the IT oriented only, AWS oriented. But at the parallel, they started giving some more offerings which would be qualified on a PaaS model, which might be qualifying on a SaaS model kind of scenario also. Moving on, Amazon has a huge portfolio of services. They have the service for the database, they have the service for the storage and content delivery, they have the service for the computer networking, they have the services for the analytics models, they have for the application developments, they have for the deployment and management, they have for the cross-service marketing. So huge service portfolio Amazon is having. And I would say so more than 30 services as of now with Amazon. Now, with this huge portfolio, I come back to my original story of Sachin Tendulkar. So we all know Sachin Tendulkar's story and the Cricinfo, what happened over that day and what caused that. So on that day, how could it help the Cricinfo in this scenario? So I'll just draw something here only. What would happen? Generally, if we see at the left, we take the case where Cricinfo does not have the cloud offering. They are not Amazon or somewhere. They are on their traditional IT. So initially, if I say Cricinfo started, initially they might have something like a 50,000 users. So they started for that. So they provided the infrastructure which can send the 50,000 users. So 2-3 years they worked, because it was almost like they have 5,000 to 50,000 users which would be able to meet that. Now their popularity has grown and the more and more users started coming over there. So then the load has increased over here, and now they created infrastructure which was able to cater up to 5 million users, which is a regular user over there. So they have the 5 million users. Now out of these 5 million users, generally that would be, you say, 50,000 to 3 millions over the period, because what would happen if you see there is a big competition like World Cup or something, it would be higher usage. If there is some India match going, there would be higher load over there. But if there is no match going, only domestic cricket is going on, it would be having a little less over there. But the problem with the Cricinfo would be they have already provisioned infrastructure which can serve 5 million people. So it would be quite a time their infrastructure would be unutilized or wasted. Now after that fatal incident, like we take the 45 million use cases, what happened? They wake up and say, no, we should provide an infrastructure which can serve up to 50 million users. So they grown beyond to now they can serve up to 50 millions. Now when you see out of 15 millions, you see quite a few times they are having only 50,000, 5 millions, 3 millions. So most of the time when you see their infrastructure is unutilized or not working for them. Right? So if you see that most of the time that this green dotted line will show you that it's being wasted. Their infrastructure is wasted because it's not being utilized over there, right? Then in that scenario, what can they do? If I erase a drawing, the yellow red line is their actual demand, you can see. So they would be, we can say this is like a 50,000, this is like 1 million, this is where they have 3 millions, and this is where they have 50 millions or 45 millions, whatever you say, user base. Now based on that, you see a lot of scope of improvement in the infrastructure. If they are using Amazon Web Service, they can always go that when they have the 50,000 users, they can provision infrastructure which can serve up to around 55 or 60,000 users. When they have 1 million, it can serve up to 1.1 million users. When they were 3 millions, it can serve up to 3.3 million users. When they were 50 millions, it can serve up to 55 million users. And the best part is everything is automated. Amazon provides the infrastructure which will be automatically scale up, scale down as per your requirement. So in that scenario, when there is a critical match and World Cup where they have 3 million users here, they would be able to, or 5 million users here, they would be able to provide the 6 million users infrastructure. When it's come down to better to 3 millions, they would be offering around 4 million user infrastructure. So they would be optimize their cost. They would also be able to meet it better way. So you see a better operation optimization. That's why going to the cloud would have been a much beneficial option for them. Yeah, if we go for the quick info case, now I would like to do the restatement here, where I would say it's not the ideal case to use the Amazon. Why? I'll tell you the answer when we go to the day 4 about the scaling services. I will explain that. Well, it may not be the 100% right case to go for Amazon. Yeah, I would say 60% qualifies for the Amazon case, not the 100%, only for that incident, but we'll come to that in detail when we explain the Amazon services. Coming back to our scenario, it's an elastic pay-as-you-go infrastructure. It gives you an option to improve your requirements. Now, a question, how many people visit AWS on Black Friday? Frankly, people do not visit AWS. People visit the sites hosted on AWS, right? Because as an AWS, I am a AWS customer. I get a virtual machine from Amazon, and then I would be using it to host my application. So the popular use case of the AWS would be, you see the Netflix, even the Zynga, which was the owner of this, what was that, Angry Birds and all that, they were also using this, the Amazon Web Services. Dropbox is using the Amazon Web Services. So they have so many huge number of customers. Now, people would be visiting their customers over there, and Amazon is having the enough infrastructure to sustain all them. Why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Because when you see this, this is again a little outdated statement, I would say. The latest statement from the Amazon's New York Summit was, currently Amazon adds enough capacity to power Amazon.com from the time it was a $2.76 billion company. Now it's almost, they are adding more infrastructure, which was like a $4.3 billion company. What I meant here is, suppose when Amazon was $4.3 billion company, they must have X number of servers or X number of infrastructure available there. Now, in that scenario, we say 100, 1,000, something kind of a infrastructure they had available there. Amazon is adding similar kind of resources every day. Yes, you hear me, every day Amazon is adding similar kind of resources to its own data center every day. That's why Amazon provides you massively scalable infrastructure services. Right? Yeah, so Venkat has a question. I'm coming that in 2 minutes to that question. So that's why, so if you talk about the case of the, like how many people visited Amazon, it would be tough to say because there would be so many total hits over there. But generally when you see, it provides a huge infrastructure which can help you to cater to various kind of a workload, and they would be able to manage that. Right? Moving on. How do you work with Amazon? Now this is the one thing which you need to do everything on your own, and this is an homework for you all. So everybody, when you go back to your home, or rather you are at your home, when we end the session, go to aws.amazon.com. I'll also show you if time permits. You create an account with Amazon. Now while creating an account, you need to provide a payment information. This can be a credit card or your debit card, anything would work. Now the reason would be here, Amazon would not charge you immediately. They may put one single transaction if it's Indian charge, they would do around 60 rupees of charge. If it's a US card, they may be doing around $1, but they would be doing just $1 transaction over there to verify whether you have the enough limit or not. But in this scenario, they would not charge back your bank, so bank would reverse the charges and it would not cost you at all. So you would need to provide your credit card or debit card information here to create your developer account. Once that is created, once this part is done, again, most of the cases you would be sign up for the almost all the services. Now we will see how to work with these three parts. That's a day 2, 3, 4 session for us. This three will come there. For you, the homework would be you can create an Amazon account. Excuse me. Now, you may say, I don't want to use my credit card. Edureka does not give you their own account, because the reason is Amazon charges you on a pay-as-you-go model. So once you create an account, do not do anything with the Amazon until I inform you. I will guide you how to use Amazon effectively free of the cost for your demo testing purpose. So for that I will help you, where you would be accessing Amazon such that at least for a year you would not be charged if you follow my instructions then. So we will be able to do that, but at least you need to do one step from your end. Will be you need to create a developer account with your own credit card, debit card. For the people in India, there is a little better option available. I'm sure US would have, but I'm not available. The State Bank of India provides a virtual credit card kind of a scenario. So if you have an SBI account, you can go there and create a virtual card of 100 rupees something, and then you can use with the Amazon to authorize that. So it would not charge you more than 100 rupees over there. So again, it's just for the registration purpose. It's not for a usage. We will always use for the free service only. They do not use the PayPal. They use the credit and debit card only. Moving on, this is a slide where you need to pay a little more attention here. First one is Amazon Machine Image, or AMI. Now I'm sure you might have, whenever you got a laptop or some machine, you get a bootable CD from the service from where you purchased, which can, when you put that CD over there, it would install the operating system. Also, along with that operating system, if there are some softwares, like it can be Internet Explorer, if required, there are some virus scanners, some of the backup mechanism, some free tools like the media players and everything would be part of that. They would be installing there. So this boot up CD which comes with, it will be generally, it will be like, if you know ISO image also, it will be similar concept where it's, when it's installed, it would have an AMI, Amazon Machine Image. Sorry, not AMI, I would go that immediately. Where it would be, when installed, it will create an operating system. Along with that, it will install the required software. Amazon Machine Image has a similar concept here. AMI helps you to launch a machine with that required software and operating system. So Amazon Machine Image is nothing but a pre-configured bundle software. It's a pre-configured bundle software where it will, when you select an AMI, you need to launch an instance from that. So you will have an AMI. AMI would have a, if I just write down, AMI would have a operating system based data. It will have also some of the softwares also installed, so applications as part of this. When you launch AMI, it will become an instance. An instance is nothing but a virtual server or virtual machine available over the internet. You can access that. So AMI would be a pre-configured bundle software. It's like an IMI, ISO thing, or the bootable CD which you see. When installed, it will start a virtual machine where it will install all the operating system as well as what are the softwares are part of that. It would be installing that. Now once you get that virtual machine, you may have the full access of that virtual machine, a root access over there. You can install more and more software. So for example, you started an AMI with the Linux case and you install a machine from that. So when an instance is launched, it will have a Linux operating system. it will also have that softwares over there like Apache or MySQL, something over there. On top of that, if you want to install the Tomcat, you can do that. On top of that, if you want to install something like IIS over there, you can do that. Whatever, I'm not sure if the IIS works with the Linux, I guess it may. So you can do whatever install you want to do that over here. And then you can create a new AMI from this also. From this machine, you can create a new AMI also. So in that scenario, what would happen? You would have a new AMI, AMI1. In this scenario, in the future, when you launch AMI1, it would have same Linux, Apache, MySQL available, as well as it will have the Tomcat also as part of this. So AMI and instance. AMI is nothing but a pre-configured bundle software. When you select that AMI, you launch an instance from that. When you launch an instance, it would be nothing but a virtual server available over internet. You can connect that using the remote desktop protocol or RDP, or you can connect them using the SSH or PuTTY over there. You can do that. And then in that virtual machine, you can do whatever application hosting you install you want to do, you can do that. And then you can create a new AMI from that instance also. So that's the case of the AMI and instance. Now this instance, generally whenever we have the instance available, it would always have the case where it would be a volume would be available. The reason for volume, the instance data would be a temporary case only. So whatever the data of the instance is, generally it's a ephemeral. Ephemeral means a temporary. And you want to make the data permanent. If you want to make the data permanent, in that case, you need a persistent storage. That persistent storage would help you to sustain any failover. So a volume is nothing but a plug and play kind of a device. If you can think, it's like your USB drive or USB hard disk, and it would be helpful to attach one volume to one instance and persist certain data. Now even if the instance terminates, your volume will still survive, and it would help you to create a backup from that. So the volume is helpful. Again, volume would have a multiple use cases. We will see that in detail tomorrow. But volume is a case which would be helpful for you when you want to create a persistent storage. It would be helpful for you. A volume is nothing but a plug and play device which would be helpful to persist the data. Now, if you have a case like you want to create a multiple volumes from the single volume, or you want to ensure that this data is more secure because you want to take the backup of this, there is a concept of a snapshot. So whoever is from the infrastructure side and has worked on the storage, I'm sure they must be aware about the concept of the snapshot in send device and all that. This is a similar kind of a concept. The snapshot would be helpful for your another kind of a backup, which will help you to create a multiple volumes from the single volume. If you want to create a multiple volume from single volume, you can do that. If you want to create a volume from one area to another area, you can do that. You can increase the volume size, you can do that from snapshot. So snapshot is for the data backup as well as for the multiple use cases, which we will see in detail tomorrow with the practical cases. For us, the important, and the snapshot would be stored inside a storage called Amazon S3, which we will see in detail on day 3. If I summarize everything, AMI is nothing but a pre-configured bundle software which is helpful to launch an instance. Once you have an instance, that is nothing but a virtual machine or virtual server where you can install your applications. Now suppose you have installed your application on that machine, and it may happen due to any reason your instance get terminated. So if you launch a new AMI, you may need to install that software again. To overcome that, what you can do is from the existing instance, you create a new AMI. So in the future, if the instance get terminated, you can launch that new AMI. So it would always have that all software installed as part of that would be available there. So that is the use case of the AMI. AMI is a pre-configured software, and it can help you to launch a new instance. An instance can be used to create a new AMI. So in the future, when a new instance is launched, it will have that software available. Volume is for the persistent storage. You can take a snapshot from the volume for the data backup as well as for the data replication part, and that snapshot would be stored inside the storage. Right? So A question from Pratik says, why would someone make an AMI from instance? I guess I answered that now, Pratik, right? Venkat is a question, new AMI means take snapshot and create another AMI? Yes, exactly. When you create an AMI, it would be like taking a snapshot and it will be creating an AMI. Okay, Pratik wants me to repeat this, so quickly. What would happen if you have, let me show if I can, hold on. This is a little odd to that. Just a second. Now what would happen? When you have an AMI, you launch an instance. Now this instance is currently, we say it's having only Linux machine. Now you install a software on top of that. You install the Tomcat, you install MySQL, right? Now in the future, whatever because your software, you have deployed your application also here. Now in future, you want to create a multiple instance from the same way, which will have the same Tomcat, which will have the same, your applications installed over there, which will also have your database available there. Now, what would the one solution would be? You launch a new AMI and you configure everything again. That's a tedious job. It will take some time. Instead, from this current instance where you have installed the software, you create an AMI, which is like my AMI1. And when you launch a new instance, it would have that Linux as well as the Tomcat installed as part of this, as well as this MySQL already configured that, as well as you would also have this data available there. So that's the case for your scenario, right? So create an AMI from existing, it's like cloning. It's almost similar to cloning, yes. It's more like you would create a snapshot and take from that. So Pratik says, but if it is already in the AMI, can we install other software on top of what? Remember, AMI is just pre-configured. AMI is like a DVD drive, right? Not the DVD drive, it's a DVD through which you can install your operating system. Now once you have that operating system installed, you have the desktop available. Now in that desktop, if you install software like Mozilla Firefox, you install the IIS, you install the Chrome, you install the Microsoft Office, would that be copied immediately automatically to that DVD? No, it will not be, right? Because you install everything in the machine, not in the DVD. So your image AMI is like your DVD and your instance is like your machine. Now whatever you install on that machine, you can create a new DVD from that. That is the similar concept of the AMI. Am I making sense now, Pratik? Now Nirmal says, can you explain more about the storage versus volume? Frankly, I have a dedicated slide on day 3. When I go to the storage, I'll explain that. So snapshot is like a restore point in operating system. Yes, that's correct. It's like your restore point in the operating system. That's the perfect case. Okay, so going on, a few use cases where AWS is very useful would be in the case of the backup and archive for application hosting, which we say for media sharing, the distribution, academic computing. Lot of the US universities are using that. Even the search engines there, people have started using that. So it provides a scalable infrastructure. Also for the SaaS and PaaS kind of hosting, because it provides you the IaaS. Moving on, people kept asking, does they provide the Amazon available in various regions, various continents, how is it available? So this is the answer for that. Amazon has a two major concept, regions and zones. So region is nothing but a, let me just type open the notepad, and if I can do something there also, the drawing part, if it works for me, because I see some issue there. And so let me open my notepad and let me see if I can do some drawing here. Great, it may work here. So I'll use this wish option if possible. Yeah, so region and zone concept would be here. Region is nothing but a geography where Amazon is having a data center. Region is nothing but a geography where Amazon is having a data center. Currently Amazon is having around 10 geographies where Amazon is having data centers. And a zone is nothing but a data center. So if you see, this is the Amazon's global data centers graph, where you can see the all yellow boxes are the Amazon regions, where Amazon is spread across the world. It is having a 10 regions as of now, 26 availability zones. Edge location we'll talk little later on. But to show you more where it is exactly hosted, currently Amazon is having, these are the regions where Amazon is available. In US it is having the 3 regions. One of them region is US East, that's in North Virginia. One region is US West, that is in North California. Third region is US West, again where it's Oregon. So this is a geography where Amazon is having a data center. It's also having in APAC in Australia, Tokyo and Singapore. So 3 in the Asia Pacific, 1 in the South America, that's on South Polo, and 1 in the Europe. We don't have anything in India as of now. Plus there is one which is only for the US government agencies, where you want to host an application for US government specific scenario. This is US government cloud region, which is only available on specific requirement only. So these are the regions and zones offered by the Amazon. Now I'm sure you all would have a question that I can see only 9 regions. Why did you speak about 10? The 10th one is China. Amazon has started a Chinese based region in around, I would say, January 2014. But that is not publicly available now. It's available only to the China region only. So if you try to see that today, it will not be available to you. But yes, if you're in China based on certain geography, it would be available to you. Coming back to this, all 8 regions which you see is available to everyone. Anybody can access and over there. So if you have a client in South America, you have a client in Tokyo, you have a client in Australia, based on that you can deploy your application over there. And each region would have a multiple availability zones. This availability zone is nothing but a data center, which is a physically separated data center. Now physically separated means it would have a separate power supply, separate separate power supply, separate network supply. So even if the one data center fails, the second data center might not fail and it would keep serving. So data centers or the availability zone provides you the best case of the high availability or the failover. So if you launch a virtual machine in 2 different centers, 2 different availability zone of a same region, even if the one zone goes down, your application would be running in the second zone. Now here the example of AMI would be very helpful. So if you created an instance, you launch an instance in that region, you launch an instance in zone A. Now you install certain 10 softwares over there. Now you created an AMI from that. What would you do? You launch that AMI in zone B. So you will have a new instance which is already configured with all the software and available to you in zone B immediately to you. Same way, if the zone B and zone A both goes down, you can use that AMI to launch a new instance in zone D. This way the zones would provide you the high availability. There would be that scenario also, like you can go to multiple regions also. So if you think completely US East region is down, you can launch that in the US West region also. And we will see in detail when we keep on moving, as well as when we go to the day 7, we will have a separate section for these high availability regions. With this slide only reference, I'll explain that in detail to you. Right, so I hope a few people ask me this question and I hope I answered them about the region, zones, how this works for that. Right, I hope everybody's clear on that. Any doubts till now? Great. So Venkat says, so we can move AMI from one zone to another but cannot move AMI between regions. No, that is the wrong. AMI is always a region specific. AMI always belongs to a region. When you launch an instance from AMI, it would ask which zone you want to launch an instance and it would launch an instance in that zone. At the same time, you can copy AMI between one region to another region, and that in that region you want to launch instance, it would be possible. So if you move AMI from one region to another region, you can launch an instance in another region, so it will be available in second region also, all instances. Right, so Sanjeev, I hope that answers your question, and Venkat, that answers your question also. A few Amazon cloud characteristics would be Amazon is highly available, reliable, scalable. It is the best for the performance. It's a very flexible. and it supports multiple languages, multiple APIs, and we'll see that also in detail in a while. Right, and it's a much secure. We'll see a little bit on security also. A good question from Pratik. Is the pricing in different regions is different? Yes, pricing is different as per the region. So if you have launched an instance in the US East, it's the cheapest one. If you go to the US West or other regions, it might be costing half a cent more. I'm talking half a cent, not the 50 cents. 0.005 cent might be a little bit more, something over there, it would be costing that. Jinsen has a question that, is there any option to choose the region where to clone AMI? Yes, you do have the option for that. We will see that tomorrow, everything in demo. Now, one important slide, and I would like you to focus here. This is the portfolio of, I would say, 90% of services, two services which introduced recently. I'll come to that also. I'll start in the middle. I'll give you the snapshot or the overview about each and every service in detail in a while, so pay little attention. First one, Amazon EC2. It provides you a virtual machine or virtual server in the cloud. What we saw as an instance we get from the EC2, that's the Elastic Compute Cloud. EC2 is useful to get a virtual server, and then you can host your application over there. It's one of the key service of the Amazon. Virtual Private Cloud is a service which will help you to achieve the secure network. It's like kind of a SDN which will help you to create your own private subnets and create a security. It can be helpful to extend this case where you want to make a hybrid cloud scenario. That is also possible here. So VPC is also one of the good case. Elastic Load Balancer is a load distribution service from Amazon which will help you to distribute the incoming load. So hope you most of you might have heard about the load balancer. So this is the similar service from the Amazon. It's a distribute the load across the multiple EC2 instances. Auto scaling is one of the very curious case where it helps you to automate the scaling service. It can automatically bring the instance up and bring the instance down. That's the case we will be seeing. Elastic MapReduce. So I'll just keep on writing some numbers here. Elastic MapReduce is a Hadoop implementation of the Amazon, it's a completely managed Hadoop implementation from the Amazon. Amazon Direct Connect is a service from Amazon which would help you to connect your data center with the Amazon data center through some service provider identified by Amazon, which would give you the best of the internet services. Amazon Route 53 is like the phone directory of your internet, so it will help you to map, like you have a URL like edureka.in and you want to map to some certain Amazon IP or some IP. Amazon Route 53 will be help. It's a domain name system provided by the Amazon. Amazon Workspace is nothing but a desktop computing, so desktop on demand from the Amazon, which would be on a fixed price per month basis. So something like starting from $35–40 per month basis, it would be offering you service. Going to the storage and content delivery, Amazon S3 or simple storage service is a scalable storage service for the static content. If I give you the bad analogy, I'm saying the bad because it's a helpful to store the like your static content like a FTP site kind of a scenario. It's again a bad analogy. We will see in detail on day 3. Amazon Elastic Block Storage is a block storage service. So we showed the case of the volumes. Volume is nothing but a EBS drive. That's very important. CloudFront is nothing but a content delivery network. If you have heard the word called Akamai, CloudFront is a similar offering from Amazon which is useful to cache the static content over the edge locations. So we'll see that also. Glacier is an archival storage service from the Amazon which is also very helpful to archive the objects for a cheaper storage service. Storage Gateway is an helpful service which will help you to integrate your on-premise IT with the cloud storage, so it would be there. In an import and export service where if you have a large data, something like in terabytes of the data, and you want to import that data to the Amazon, it would be helpful for you. In the database service, Amazon provides the DynamoDB. DynamoDB is a NoSQL offering. If you know the NoSQL, that's one of the key concepts. If not, we'll see that in detail on day 6. ElastiCache is an in-memory caching service from Amazon which works with the Redis and Memcache. RDS is a completely managed database service from the Amazon which we will offer, which will explain. It supports the Postgre, MySQL, Oracle, MS SQL, all 4 popular databases. Redshift is a petabytes of the data warehousing service from the Amazon. In the app service side, Amazon is having a cloud search, which is like a solar search if you have used. It's a kind of a similar service which will help to the search over there. In Elastic Transcoder is a media transcoding service which will be helpful to transcode or convert media from one format to another. Simple email service is a bulk sending email service from the Amazon which helps you to send a huge number of email from Amazon. Simple notification service is also an Amazon service which is useful to notify on various channels like Amazon mobile, email, those kind of channels, or HTTP. Simple queue service is a queuing service. If you know the RabbitMQ, ActiveMQ, this is a similar kind of offering from Amazon. In the simple workflow service, it's like a Amazon automated workflow. It's if you know the BPM and process, it's a similar case over there. CloudFormation is a template-based service which will help you to automate. It's a kind of a template-driven service which would be, it's like your setup which will help you to automatically Amazon resource creation. CloudWatch is Amazon monitoring service which is very helpful even for the scaling part. Data pipeline is for the orchestration of your data-driven workflows, which will be helpful to you to drive some of data. Elastic Beanstalk is the official PaaS offering from the Amazon. It is like the Amazon Google, not Amazon, it's like a Google App Engine. IAM is a identity and access management, which is one of the key or the most powerful aspect in the Amazon, which help you to create a various users as well to give the control to the various services. OpsWorks is a DevOps offering, which we talk about the DevOps beginning. It's a DevOps offering from Amazon, which helps you to generate the Amazon resources in a DevOps model. Cloud HSM or a hardware security model is useful to store your keys in a secure fashion. So that is the Cloud HSM. Amazon Kinesis is a service which would help you to do the real-time processing of the streaming data. It may be kind of a similar to Simple Queue, but more about the streaming data. CloudTrail is a service which will be helpful to do the API tracking. Amazon AppStream is a streaming of the games, which is one of the things which would be very popular in 1 or 2 years, because it would be very helpful for the mobile applications and the gaming. Amazon also supports the support models, so you can use the support models for the Amazon. So where you can, it's a paid to free various support models. We'll see it in detail a little bit. Amazon is also a marketplace where you can do a little bit more. If you want to buy some ready to use service, it will be available there. It's like your Google Play Store or something like that. In Management Console or the App Store, I can say, in Management Console, it will provide the service to all the access. So we'll see it today as well as over the period of time. Amazon also has the various SDKs and CLIs available. So with this, I'll say out of this service, we are going to cover all these services, and I've also marked in which session we are going to cover. Yeah, some of the service we may not be able to cover because you can see it's a huge portfolio and each service would have a little different need, different time, and we have a limited time frame available as of now. So we would not be able to cover, but I'm sure, yeah, I will provide certain resources. We will lay the foundation framework for you, which would be helpful to learn these services further to implement that also. Also in the storage, some of the things which would be, if you see, this all covers almost 80% of your certification drive also. One of the key aspects which may not be part of the certification would be a VPC, which we may not cover, but I would provide you enough resources to learn the VPC, which help you to plan, or I will also guide you how to learn the VPC over there at the end of the session also, end of the complete training also. So this is how we are going to plan the different scenarios. Now, a question, is EC2 IaaS? I think I answered that a couple of times. Yes, EC2 is IaaS. Also a question is VPC means HTTPS communication? No, VPC does not mean HTTPS. It's more like a software defined networking, which helps you to create your own subnets within Amazon for a secure hosting services. Right? Anything else? We are moving to the end of the session, so don't worry, I'll not stretch a lot for all US East Coast. I apologize again, we started a little bit, so we have to stretch a more. But stay tuned, we'll not stretch a more. Now, Amazon, I said it's a agile. It provides the different options because there are 4 ways through which you can create and access the Amazon services. We saw all the, okay, by the way, I forgot 2 services in the previous list. Amazon announced 2 services last week only in US Summit, New York Summit rather. One of them is Amazon Zocomo. Zocomo is like your Amazon Google Docs by the Amazon, it is for that. And Amazon Cogneto. Cogneto is useful for the mobile authentication. So that's one of the scenario from the 2 new services from the Amazon. Yeah, coming back to, you can access Amazon through various services, resources. First one is Amazon Management Console. So which we'll see if time permits today or tomorrow, we'll see that. Apart from that, if you want to make your own service application with Amazon, you may need to call the Amazon through the SDKs. So Amazon provides the SDKs to access their services. Like if you want to launch an instance, Amazon would provide a web service as well as the SDKs. So you can write a Java program which will be calling the Amazon EC2 to launch an instance. Same way, Amazon would provide a web service to launch an instance over there using the REST and SOAP kind of a scenario. For the Linux and the Macintosh guys, Amazon also provides the CLIs to work with the services. So these are the various options available to access the Amazon services. In most of the time, we will go with the Management Console. Only one of the sessions will see the CLI also. Now, a little time on the Amazon security. This is also one of the key aspects. See, some people ask me that how do they achieve the security, because if it's a multi-tenant system, it's always bound to that somebody does mischief in his tenancy, in his network. Would it affect my tenant or not? So what would happen in this scenario? If you see the Amazon architecture, this is the bare metal infrastructure provided by the Amazon. Now in this bare metal infrastructure, this is your physical infrastructure. In that, Amazon would have its own firewall. So whatever the internet query is coming from the external world, internet request, that would be first hitting this firewall. Now when it hits this firewall, so it would be based on filtered over there. On top of that, there would be some virtual interfaces also, which would be used by the hypervisors. Hypervisors, we all know, is a software to create a virtualized environment. Amazon uses Zen open source hypervisor. So it's a software to create a hypervisor, and they would be using the virtual interface to launch an instance. Now this is customer 1 is nothing but instance 1. This is nothing but instance 2, and this is nothing but instance n. Now in this scenario, what would happen? When you go to the security, each instance would also have their own private firewall, which is called a security group. A security group is nothing but a firewall which will allow the inbound traffic or outbound traffic on that. So what would happen in this scenario? Whenever somebody requests, so if I just clear, this instance would have a public IP, something like 10.10.1.2. So somebody when requests on this IP 10.10.1.2, your domain name system would map that this IP belongs to Amazon. So it would come to the physical interface, it will go to this firewall. This firewall would filter out that this is not a blocked IP or something, not a fishy requirement. Then based on this IP, it would use this virtual interface to find out that this request belongs to where. Then it would be find out that okay, this request belongs to the customer 1. So it would check the security group of the customer 1 and say that whether port 80, since it's a HTTP request, port 80 is open for this customer or not. So if the security group has port 80 open, then only it will allow the request to reach to the customer 1. Now once that request reaches to the instance 1 would respond something bad. Whenever it is responding, each instance would also have a virtual MAC address that comes with the hypervisor. So it will bound this virtual MAC address with this request. So next time when the request comes, this firewall would detect that okay, this virtual MAC belongs to this security group, so it will immediately check the security group and then forward the request to this customer 1 directly. So first time it may go to for check the virtual MAC, and then it will be allowing this. So I'll take a question in a while, hold on. But to give you a little more visibility how it would be helpful, we show the case of the 3-tier application. In 3-tier application, you have web tier where you have open port 80 and 443 in security group. Then there is an application tier where you have open port 80, but you have open port 80 only for web tier only, not for anyone else. So only web tier IP. So web tier IP is something IP.10.1.1.2 something, right? So this port 80 is open for only for the web tier, for no one else. Then there is a database tier. So in database tier you are using port 3306. So here you have opened port 3306 only for the IP of the application tier, not anyone else, even not for the web tier. Now what would happen in that scenario? Whenever somebody hits the request 10.10.1.2, if it's on port 80, it would come and allow to pass this firewall. If somebody sent the request on 10.10.1.2 on port 8080 or port some other port like 8090, it would be rejected because port 8090 or 8080 is not open in this security group. Now this security group would call internally to web tier. Now this app tier. Now app tier has open port 80 for web tier, so it will allow to get the request. The app tier IP is, we take the 10.3.4.5. So here if somebody tries to hit 10.3.4.5 on port 80 directly, it will be rejected because this IP security group has opened port 80 only for this IP address. So no other IP address is allowed to access this. So it's a secure. Again, this application sent a request to database. Database would verify whether request is coming from 10.3.4.5 or someone else. If it is for this port, it would allow, and only on port 3306 then only it will allow, else it will not allow. So this way it will help you to achieve much secure environment with the security group concept, right? A question here, will we be writing REST web service or RESTful client during this course? No, we will not be doing any programming as of now. We'll be covering, you can do, we will guide you. So we will show you these are the services. Now you can use the Amazon APIs to do that. Second question from Venkat, virtual interface is like a proxy server. I would not exactly go with the proxy server. The proxy server would be more like this security group because it's a virtual firewall. But it's a more like a, or rather you say it's like a Nginx kind of a scenario. Just redirects, but I would say virtual interface would be like to mapping your virtual hypervisor with the over the interfaces over the instance over there. It would be used more over there part over there. Right? So I hope everybody is clear with the Amazon security concept. Any doubts till now? We are almost reaching the end. So Sumanta has a question, are we going to do any Amazon programming during this course? Frankly, no, because frankly, the reason I'll tell you, you like the Java, I like the .NET, somebody likes the PHP. Amazon has a different programming available. We will lay the foundation where you can do programming on your own using that. So I'll guide you the APIs what are available, but you can do completely on your own because Amazon provides the, whatever you do through console, you can do similar thing to the SDK also. Coming back to any doubts or questions? So what kind of project will there be for this course? I'll cover in detail at the end of the day 8. We'll explain that more detail because if I explain you, I'll tell the name of the service which would not make sense of now. I'll explain that over there. Any other question? Coming to Amazon security. See, Amazon also, if you need to trust Amazon, Amazon has get a lot of accreditations or credentials. So it's a SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3 compliance. It's also PCI DSS level 1, ISO 27001. So these are the certifications from Amazon. Also, it has the certification for the data card and security. It has also the routine and comprehensive audits and risk assessment for the customers. It's also has the identity and access management available, which we'll see in detail. It is also having this hardware security model for the better security management. It's also for the government cloud for the US government agencies. So there are various scenarios available to secure the access with the Amazon. Now, one question people would have, why Amazon? So this is directly from the Amazon URL because Amazon, we know the global infrastructure like the regions and zones. We know the content distribution like the Amazon CloudFront, which you will see in detail. It provides the massively scalable infrastructure. It has the support for the big data. It has a various flexible support models. It has the ecosystem available. Plus, it keeps on releasing more and more features. Even if you see, in the 2013, it released almost 280 features. And in April 2014 only, it released around 82 features. So that's why Amazon is becoming more and more famous. It's leading. And this slide tells you the story. This slide tells you this is where the Amazon Gartner cycle of the 2013, and what they say is Amazon leading by the furthest margin to everyone. Even if you see, they say is Amazon has 5 times more compute capacity than aggregate of the whatever 14 service providers you see here. So the number of resources what Amazon is having, comparing that, you combine the resource of all the 14 service providers here, Amazon has 5 times more service offering than this. And that's why Amazon leads this quadrant by as a leader, and it's a more and most popular here. Okay, so one question would be, same thing can be done through the console or programming has any extra edge? No, whatever you do, you can do through the console. You can do same thing from the SDK only. Only thing would be in the SDK you can do some kind of automation, or you want to implement something on your own control, you will be able to do that. In console you have to do manually. Right, Suman, I hope that also helps you to understand, and Surendra, I hope that answers your question. Moving on, so Amazon is one of the largest service provider, and this is a little old 2012 data from this VentureBeat, and what they say is by 2013 Amazon is having more than 11.6 million website hosting, and this is 2013. I'm sure by 2014 it would be almost 20 million data. We don't have the data available for 2014, so that would be there. So also why Amazon, if you see the distribution of the Amazon control, Amazon 51% customer is from the US, 17% from the Europe, 17% from the Asia Pacific, 5% from the Asia, Australia, 9% from the South America, 1% from the Africa. And that's why you see the why they have the region specific to this, because where they have more popular users, they have the services available there, or the regions available there. Now let's move on to the console. If you give me a minute, I can show the console also here in a minute, or if you want to see that tomorrow, we will anyway going to see that tomorrow also. So I can open the session for the question answer now. If you have any, I can do that also. The console is not a big thing. We'll see anyway, going to do it completely hands-on tomorrow. So we will be covering the console completely tomorrow also. I believe it's quite late for quite a few people, so we can skip the console part now. I'm going to show it in detail tomorrow, so don't worry. I'm not going to skip anything. Whatever I started targeting, I'll do that achieve. Anything else? Okay, then if you don't have anything, then we can leave the session. And thanks again to everyone for joining this session. I hope you all enjoyed.